Chapter 257. The Griffin Knights were too conspicuous. If they appeared in Central State City, wouldn't that be telling everyone that the Imperial City had sent an army? If Chu Tian made an extreme move, perhaps the citizens would be implicated. It was best to secretly capture Chu Tian and not cause any disturbances in Central State. Don't alert the enemy. Hide your mounts and infiltrate Central State City. Find Chu Tian's whereabouts and capture him in one fell swoop. Gu Qianqiu gave Cao Bao and the others a task. After Southern State's Western Marquis arrives, we'll bring Chu Tian to him and send him to Imperial City to be judged. Then the great scholar. Just capture him. I'll be in charge of collecting evidence against Chu Tian. Understood. Chu Tian is a very arrogant and tyrannical person. He might have an expert by his side. Even the Nangong family's true Soul Realm envoy was crippled, so you must be careful when you move. Please be assured, great scholar, we'll definitely complete this task. Go! The selection process for the royal knights was extremely strict. Not only were they the strongest knights in the kingdom, but they were also brave and smart enough to fight in all kinds of situations. Any member of the elite storm cavalry could become the captain of 1,000 storm cavalry. This was Southern Xia's special forces, so how hard would it be for them to kidnap a single person? Cao Bao led his royal knights first and entered Central State City in disguise. Gu Qianqiu passed through the Central State Port and entered the city as a traveling scholar. However, when Gu Qianqiu arrived at the Central State Port, he was completely stunned by the scene in front of him. Of the 8 states of Southern Summer, which one had Gu Qianqiu not been to before? Qing State's port was the largest. Because Qing State was the source of the country's resources, the transportation of resources was very developed. There were over 200 ships docked at the Qing State port, which was a very spectacular scene. Today, he was surprised to find that the Central State port was twice as large as before. There were at least 300-400 ships docked and 10,000-20,000 workers working hard, creating a very shocking scene. What was even more shocking was that the Central State port was still expanding. In around half a month, the port would double in size again. This was just like a prosperous shipping trade scene that was full of vitality. When did the Central State become so developed? Near Central State City, countless factories were bustling with activity. Beast carriages dragged materials in and out, and all kinds of finished products were transported into warehouses. It was a prosperous scene. Strange, strange indeed. Half a month had passed since the chaos in the Central Plains. Not only did Central Continent City not decline, it became even more prosperous than before. This was truly an unimaginable phenomenon. While Gu Qianqiu was in a daze, he suddenly felt the sky sink. When Gu Qianqiu looked up, his chin almost fell to the ground. What is this? There were 3 oval-shaped objects in the sky that looked like giant eggs, and they were slowly approaching from one direction at a rather fast speed. Gu Qianqiu had never seen this thing before. It looked like a hot air balloon, but it was definitely not an ordinary hot air balloon because this thing was very fast. It clearly had a powerful propulsion system. A container-like basket hung from each of the giant oval-shaped eggs. Gu Qianqiu watched as the giant eggs slowly floated outside Central State City. They steadily stopped in the air above a large warehouse and then slowly sank down. When they were less than 3 meters from the ground, the container-like basket was opened and 2 people came out. They placed bags of heavy ores in front of the warehouse. The 3 giant eggs had a shocking amount of goods, piling them up to form a small mountain. After the goods were unloaded, the giant eggs slowly floated up and slowly flew in another direction. The shock in Gu Qianqiu's heart could not be described with words. At the same time, as a scholar, he was filled with curiosity towards new things. He walked in front of the warehouse and saw the workers moving the goods. He asked in a curious voice, "Little brother, what are these things flying in the sky?" "You've just arrived in Central State City." A worker with a cigarette in his mouth said in a very proud voice, "This thing can only be seen in Central State. It's called an airship. It's almost as big as a small cargo ship." "That's right. These ores were sent over from South Sky City. It's called something. Hidden Image Stone." Right, that's what it's called. This airship directly flies to the mine and then sends it over to Central State City. You have to know that the mine is deep in the forest and beast carriages can't enter at all. If you want to transport the ores to South Sky City, don't even mention how much effort it would take to transport them from South Sky City to Central State City. The entire process would take at least 7-10 days, and it's not safe at all. With this airship, the efficiency of mining and transporting has increased by 10 times. Too shocking. This was definitely an important tool for transporting goods. This era was too rich in resources. In fact, even if it was a small country, there were not many resources that could be mined. Most of them could not be mined because of geographical or environmental factors. For example, Qing State's Green Ridge. That was the largest resource area in southern Xia. Now it was only a few % of the resources that had been discovered. It was because the mountains were high and the rivers were dangerous, making it hard to enter and transport, so they could only look and not mine. With this airship, wouldn't it be able to replace ships for shipping? It can't be. The airship's capacity is not small, but it is far from a large ship. Other than that, this airship has a limited range and is only suitable for transporting goods within a state. It can't be used to transport goods across continents. Another worker cut in, "What are you so anxious for? Miracle Commerce has just made this airship and there are only 3 in the world. If it can't be done now, can't it be done in the future?" That's right. Is there anything that Miracle Commerce can't do? These workers were all discussing with faces filled with worship for Miracle Commerce. Gu Qianqiu was silent. The appearance of this airship had a large meaning. Although this Miracle Commerce and Chu Tian did all sorts of evil things, they still had some skill. Gu Qianqiu took this chance to ask, "I heard that Central State is very chaotic right now. Is this true?" Central State is chaotic? Damn. These workers stared at him. Central State used to be very chaotic. With those nobles suppressing us, it was hard for us to even breathe. Ever since Miracle Commerce defeated the 3 great families, Central State's atmosphere has become much more relaxed, and even the small and medium nobles have become friendly. In less than half a month, our salaries have tripled. That's right. The reason my son can go to Central State Academy is all because of the scholarship provided by the Miracle Commerce Charity Fund. A middle-aged man revealed a look of happiness. The tuition fees have been paid by Miracle Commerce, so all the money we earn is our own and our days have become better. When our son finishes his studies in the future, I will definitely let him work for Miracle Commerce and bring glory to our family. Old sir, we still have to work. If there is nothing else, please move aside. That's right. Miracle Commerce has given us such a high salary, we have to work hard to repay them. Gu Qianqiu was a little stunned. From the eyes and expressions of these workers, these words came from the bottom of their hearts. This was completely different from what Gu Qianqiu had imagined. The Central State chaos had killed tens of thousands of people, the 3 great families had been destroyed, and the balance of power had collapsed. This was enough to cause panic in Central State, and the various clans would use this chance to swallow each other up. Central State should have fallen into chaos. Not to mention that Chu Tian had led the pirates into the city. These pirates had occupied the 4 states' lake for a long time, killing and pillaging, committing all sorts of crimes. Would they not do anything after entering the city? Wasn't this just nonsense? Who would have thought that Central State City would not fall into chaos? Rather, it would become even more prosperous. The people were not in chaos and their lives were even better than before. Could there be a discrepancy between the information and reality? No matter what, Chu Tian had led the pirates to attack the city, causing chaos in Central State, swallowing the 3 great families, and heavily injuring the Imperial City's special envoy was an indisputable fact. These crimes were enough for him to die 100 times over. He had insulted Gu Qianqiu's disciple and even insulted Gu Qianqiu himself. This was a provocation to the great scholar himself. No matter what, I have to capture him first. Chao Bao and the others have already made their move, so they should be able to capture Chu Tian soon. The Western Marquis will also arrive in Central State soon, so I have to hurry and collect evidence. Gu Qianqiu did not continue to wander outside the city, rather he directly entered Central State City to collect evidence. It was dusk and Central State City began to darken. Strange, why did the crystal lamps on the side of the road disappear? Gu Qianxiu's eyes swept over the streets and alleys. The main city had crystal lamps, but they had all been removed and replaced with strange towers. The towers were around 3 meters tall and there was a large glass ball on top of them. Were there no lights in Central State City? Humph, good Chu Tian, even removing the lights. Wouldn't the citizens not be safe at night? He clearly did not care about the citizens' lives at all. Note it down, note it down. Actually, the lack of public facilities in the city did not have anything to do with Chu Tian. Wasn't this the responsibility of the mayor? Gu Qianxiu thought that it was because of Chu Tian's disturbance in Central State that the destruction of the public facilities was also his responsibility. Gu Qianxiu did not even remember it. Suddenly, a bright light appeared and the entire Central State City seemed to be lit up. All the streets were lit up and the light turned the streets as bright as day. Gu Qianxiu retreated 10 meters in fright. What is this? Ha ha, where did this country bumpkin come from? An adult held a little girl's hand as they walked down the street. The little girl was amused by Gu Qianxiu's appearance. You don't even know what an electric light is. Shameful, shameful. The adult revealed a look of disdain, but his mouth said, Little girl, how can you be this rude? You have to respect the elderly. Don't you know that electric lights are not something that can be found everywhere? Gu Qianxiu revealed an awkward expression. What is this electric light? This is an invention of Miracle Commerce and it is very cheap. Other than South Sky City, Central State City has the most of them. This citizen proudly said, Miracle Commerce is prepared to build 5,000 lighthouses to improve the citizens' lives. There are even slums here, making our lives much more convenient. The adult and child disdainfully spoke nonsense with the bumpkin and went to play on the streets. Gu Qianxiu looked at the city in front of him in a daze. In this city that was suddenly lit up, there was a bright light coming from the glass ball at the top of the tower. This light was much brighter than the crystal and it was very stable. Electric light? Was it a fully automatic lighting tool? Gu Qianxiu did not find any signs of it being controlled, so it most likely turned on based on the intensity of the light. Not simple at all. When did Central State City have this many interesting things? But this did not have much use. It was just to replace the crystal light. Gu Qianxiu did not believe that after Chu Tian committed such a large crime, could there not be any evidence? There had to be. Chapter 258. Although information was blocked in this day and age, it was impossible for Imperial City to not notice a large change in Central State City. Unless the change happened in a short period of time and Imperial City did not have time to pay attention to it, Gu Qianxiu did not know about it at all. The streets of Central State City made people feel like they were in a different world. Not only were there street lights on both sides, even the shop signs and decorations were filled with light, making people feel dazzled. Special price. Special price. Miracle Commerce's Southern Cloud Commerce's newest stone armor talisman. It consumes little energy, has quick effects, and does not affect movement. It has high physical resistance, can resist attacks, is corrosive, and can even reduce energy damage. It is easy to use and cheap, a must-have for adventuring. Miracle Commerce's products are all top quality, quickly come and buy. In front of a talisman shop, there was a loudspeaker that was repeatedly shouting. Gu Qianxiu found that the words were repeated over and over again. Whether it was the tone, speed, or tone, they were all the same. This was clearly not a single person shouting. It was a method to preserve the sound and repeat it over and over again, attracting customers to the shop. How could this loudspeaker automatically shout? Gu Qianxiu wanted to take off the loudspeaker and study it, but he resisted the urge in the end. He could not waste time on this. He had to quickly collect evidence of Chu Tian's crimes. Taverns and hotels were good places to find information and Gu Qianxiu wanted to find a place to rest his feet. A luxurious hotel appeared in front of him and the entire building was filled with lights. The giant signboard was made of golden lights that formed the words Miracle Grand Hotel, making it very eye-catching. Strange, why are there so many people? The entire hotel was filled with people. The line of customers stretched out to the street and most of them were cultivators. There was no other way, he could only find a decent tavern. "Welcome." The waiter immediately came forward to greet him. "Do you need a private room or do you want to go straight to the main hall?" "A private room." "All right, what do you want to eat?" The waiter led Gu Qianxiu to a private room and enthusiastically recommended, "Our tavern has just ordered a batch of canned meat from Miracle Commerce. The price is reasonable and we guarantee you will be satisfied." "It's something from Miracle Commerce again? Old mister, you must have just arrived, right? Since that's the case, you should try it. Miracle Commerce's canned meat is so popular in Central State that only nobles can taste it. Even if there are many restaurants in Central State City that are out of stock, this is a rare opportunity." "Give me a few servings then." The waiter asked again. This restaurant has a broadcast system. If you want to listen to the broadcast during your meal, you only need to pay an additional service fee. "What's a broadcast?" Old Sir really is an outsider. Miracle Commerce has built the first set in Southern Xia in Central Continent City, and it might even be the first complete broadcast system in the entire continent. No matter where the people in the city are, they can listen to the content they like at any time. Is it really that magical? Gu Qianxiu did not believe it. Then this old man wants to open his eyes. The waiter turned on a large radio that was placed on a cabinet. Immediately, a burst of melodious music reverberated, and a beautiful female voice was speaking. "Welcome everyone back to the Miracle Broadcasting Station. Today we will be telling a beautiful love story. He was brought by a wandering poet from a foreign land." This magnetic female voice made people feel at ease. Coupled with the soft and melodious music, the story of the journey to the north and the twists and turns gave people an unprecedented experience. Gu Qianxiu was a person that was almost 100 years old. Of course he would not be attracted by a love story. This magical broadcasting ability made Gu Qianxiu speechless. "How is this done?" The waiter said with a faint smile, "Old mister, this is one of Miracle Broadcasting Station's programs. The one speaking on the radio right now is Shunfengho's daughter, the very famous young Miss Feng Kaidai in Central State City. If old mister does not like this program, you can change the channel yourself. News, entertainment, music, and art, there is everything. Of course, we can only listen to the public channels, we can't listen to the paid channels." "Broadcast speakers? Miracle Broadcasting Station?" Gu Qianxiu was stunned. What was the principle behind this technology? If the electric lights and airships were small technologies that added flowers to the brocade, then this kind of broadcasting system was a large invention. If this kind of broadcasting could cover the entire country, would it be as difficult to communicate with each other? If it could cover the entire continent, wouldn't they be able to know what was happening in the Elven Kingdom? Not only would this greatly enrich people's lives, the encrypted channel could also be used on military and secret matters. "The canned food is here, please enjoy." Gu Qianxiu ate the canned food while listening to the contents of the broadcast. This canned food was clearly made from demon beast meat. It seemed like Miracle Commerce had a method to cook demon beast meat. This was a good news for countless cultivators and mercenaries. This invention could also change the lives of many people. An hour passed by unknowingly. The sound that came from the radio did not have any static or interruptions, maintaining a steady state the entire time. The main content of the broadcast included news, music, stories, and information, as well as a few commercial advertisements. This was truly incredible. Just how many strange inventions did Miracle Commerce have? Gu Qianxiu's opinion of Chu Tian and Miracle Commerce gradually changed. "Welcome back to the Miracle Broadcasting Station." At this time, Feng Katie's voice slowly flowed out like water. "I have just received a piece of exciting news. Miracle Commerce's Yun sect has made a large breakthrough and there is a new technology being born. Is this a great era-changing technology? Of course, the current technology is not mature, so Miracle Commerce is still in the experimental stage. Isn't everyone curious? To satisfy everyone's curiosity, we will be conducting a public experiment in the Central State City Square at 8 o'clock, letting the citizens of Central State City see it first. There is still an hour until the experiment starts, so those who are interested shouldn't miss it." Feng Katie's voice did not even fall. The wine shop was completely filled with noise. There's something new coming out. Can we wait? Pay the bill, quickly pay the bill, I want to take a look. Pay my ass, didn't you see the waiter run away? We should also leave, otherwise we'll miss the progress. Gu Qianxiu threw a gold coin onto the table and jumped out of the window. His skinny body was like a monkey, jumping several times in the air before landing in the Central State City Square. It had only been a few minutes? The Central State Square was filled with people. Gu Qianxiu once again recognized the effect of the broadcast on people. The speed at which this news spread was much faster than the traditional media like newspapers. A short tower appeared in the center of the square. It was only around 3 meters tall and the structure of the tower was very complex. Even with Gu Qianxiu's profound knowledge, he could not see through its mysteries. Everyone began to discuss with each other. They did not know what new and strange thing Miracle Commerce was going to make. Miracle Commerce's array master checked it and the time was almost up. The test was about to begin. Hey, hello everyone, long time no see. A white-robed young man walked out. I am Yun Xiao, there's no need to introduce myself. Anyways, I am a famous person in Central State City, so there shouldn't be many people that don't know me. The crowd broke out in laughter. If one said that they didn't know Yun Xiao, there weren't many people in Central State City. Yun Xiao's reputation was mixed. He used to be a playboy who ate, drank, and gambled, but who would have thought that in just 1-2 months, he would undergo such a large change, making everyone look at him differently. Everyone quiet down. Yun Xiao raised his hand and used the loudspeaker to shout, Today, Miracle Commerce will announce a great invention. Miracle Commerce rarely showed their inventions to the public. Since it was so abnormal today, the invention this time was definitely not normal. I want to ask everyone. Yun Xiao paced back and forth, is this world big? Big? Isn't this nonsense? The world is very big and it is filled with endless wonders. Yun Xiao said this and then suddenly gave a sigh. However, it is a pity that everyone here, including myself, will find it hard to leave southern summer in our lives. In our entire lives, it will be hard for us to see even a billionth of this wonderful world. Everyone was silent. Everyone knew that the world was big and everyone knew that southern summer was very small. Humans had established countries with hundreds of billions of people, but southern summer only had 200 million people. It was not an exaggeration to say that southern summer was a small place. Gu Qianxiu's feelings were even deeper. He had traveled for over 20 years, but he had only seen the tip of the iceberg. This world was truly too big. A giant empire with tens of billions of people and a great empire spanning hundreds of thousands of miles, what kind of glory is that? Yun Xiao revealed a look of grief and indignation as he repeatedly criticized the unfairness of fate. Could it be that we can only use our limited imaginations to imagine? The elves, the spirit beasts, and the dragons, these rumored races are not inferior to humans in terms of civilization and intelligence. What kind of world is it and what kind of culture they have? Could it be that no one wants to personally see it? Ancient divine beasts, ancient life forms, the countless forbidden areas of the continent, strange and dazzling, filled with endless mysteries. Why can't we personally see it? Yun Xiao's acting skills were quite good and his words became more and more hot-blooded. Beyond the sky, what kind of space is the abyss world? Don't you want to know? After tens of thousands of years, the blue sea will turn into mulberry fields. Whether it is an expert or a commoner, they will all disappear in the river of history. Could it be that our era is destined to be forgotten by people? Yun Xiao's words filled everyone's hearts with ripples. I don't know what you think. In any case, I'm not willing. Yun Xiao tightly clenched his fist and said, even if I am very small, I want to experience the might of a giant dragon. Even if I am vulgar, I want to personally see the beauty of the elves. Even if I am humble, I want to see the depths of the abyss world. Even if I am useless, I want to be remembered by future generations and forever live in people's memories. Does everyone think I'm crazy? That's right, if there wasn't Miracle Commerce, I would also think that I'm crazy. Gu Qianxiu was stunned hearing this. This brat really knew how to boast, but with this gimmick, it was enough to whet everyone's appetite. Everyone couldn't help being fascinated and wanting to know just what kind of things miracle commerce had brought. Even if you say it 1,000 times, it's still better than seeing it once. Yun Xiao felt that it was about time and immediately moved to the side. He waved his hands. Please bring out Miracle Commerce's newest invention. Chapter 259. Yun Xiao was a pompous person, but his eloquence was not bad. This speech had hooked everyone's appetite, and now he was finally going to announce the invention of Miracle Commerce. 2 Miracle Commerce employees immediately pushed a rectangular object forward. There was a large black cloth covering it, making it hard for everyone to see what it looked like. I ask everyone to witness it. Yun Xiao revealed the black cloth in a confident manner. Everyone stretched out their necks and saw a speckless mirror appear in front of them. This mirror was around the height of a person, and there was a giant source energy array on it, releasing faint spirit energy fluctuations. What is the meaning of this? Isn't it just a mirror? Everyone began to discuss with dissatisfaction. Yun Xiao had hooked everyone's appetite for so long, but what was the result? He took out a mirror in the end? Wasn't this just fooling everyone? Gu Qianxiu observed it for a few seconds. Mind's eye open. Gu Qianxiu opened his mind's eye to observe it. If he looked at it with his naked eye, he would think it was a mirror, but when he used his mind's eye to see its essence, he found that it was not as simple as a mirror. It was made of metal, and on top of the smooth metal, there was a layer of material that was less than a millimeter thick. Gu Qianxiu could not tell what this material was, but it was a reflective material that formed the surface of the mirror. This thing was not as simple as a normal mirror. Quiet down! Quiet down! Yun Xiao loudly shouted a few words through the loudspeaker. Everyone stopped discussing and gradually calmed down. I know everyone has many questions in their hearts. Then tell me. Don't be anxious. Actually, in this special conference, I am not the main character. Yun Xiao said this and then loudly shouted, Next, we invite the Miracle Commerce Vice Chairman, young Miss Meng Qingwu. Meng Qingwu personally came? Everyone was stunned. That was impossible. It was impossible for no one to notice Meng Qingwu coming out. Meng Qingwu's peerless appearance, no matter where she went, she would attract countless gazes. If Meng Qingwu came, everyone would know. Everyone quickly look. The mirror is changing. The surface of the mirror, which had been quietly placed there, gradually emitted a hazy glow. It was no longer the mirror that could be seen clearly before. It was as if it had been sprayed with water vapor, so it was covered with a layer of mist. There was something fishy about this mirror. The light emitted from the mirror grew stronger and stronger. Finally, a layer of water-like ripples appeared, and an invisible energy was brewing within it. Everyone had a strange feeling. The mirror was no longer there, and there was another space inside the frame. Look! Amidst the exclamations of countless people, a figure appeared in the mirror, changing rapidly from blurry to clear. It was a stunning beauty in a white robe, with a perfect figure, noble temperament, steady and dignified. Who else could it be but Meng Qingwu? Oh my God! Guild leader Meng Qingwu is in the mirror. What the hell is going on? Why is she in the mirror? The glowing mirror became clearer and clearer. Meng Qingwu was sitting on a luxurious mahogany bench in the lobby of the Miracle Commerce headquarters. There was a jade tea set on the table beside her. Dignified and elegant. Her black hair was like lacquer, her skin was like jade, and her beautiful eyes revealed an indescribable charm. She was like a budding noble peony, beautiful but not bewitching, gorgeous but not out of the ordinary. It was too magical. Meng Qingwu was sitting in the Miracle Commerce headquarters, but she was able to face everyone in the plaza. It was like she was right in front of them, and they could touch Meng Qingwu if they stretched out their hands. She smiled sweetly. Her elegant and beautiful style made everyone feel like they were bathing in the spring breeze. Then Meng Qingwu picked up a round microphone and said, "Hello everyone." Her voice came from the speakers on both sides. When he saw such a strange scene, a certain scholar's eyes had already widened to the size of a dead fish. This had completely subverted his understanding. Miracle Commerce's technology could transmit sound and images separately, but at the moment, the audio could not be transmitted at the same time. This was a more complicated technology. It was not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. Chu Tian could not complete it in half a day. Meng Qingwu was using the newest technology of miracle commerce. It did not use a radio and directly transmitted sound. This was something that others could not discover at the moment. I am very happy to be able to meet everyone in this way. Thank you for your support. Miracle Commerce has gone through difficult research and has recently found the correct method to use the hidden image stone. What you are seeing is actually the magnetic image tower and the image transferring mirror. Everyone stared at each other. The entire place was silent. As the name suggests, the magnetic image tower is the same as the magnetic sound tower. It's just that the type of signal transmitted is different. The image transferring mirror is the same as a radio in a sense. It can receive sound signals. When this invention comes out, it will further change people's lives. Other than that, we are currently researching how to make the magnetic image disc. Just like the magnetic sound disc, it can store images and images. This means that images can be recorded. People can record demon beasts, terrain, and people and store them as data. It can even be stored in a library, opening people's eyes and allowing future generations to look back at it. It will have a subversive effect on education, civilization, and our daily lives. Meng Qingwu had a unique temperament. It was noble but not arrogant, dignified but not lacking in friendliness. It made everyone immerse themselves in it. Everyone thought back to Yun Zhao's words and felt their blood boil. Perhaps it would become possible in the future. Everyone did not need to leave Central State City to see the outside world's civilization and landscape. People did not need to be strong to see the giant dragon behemoth's glory. People did not need to be great to preserve their appearance and let their future generations remember it. Here, I will reveal a bit of information to everyone. Meng Qingwu continued to say, we have already developed our first product. It is a kind of 2D still image capturing and preserving technology. It can perfectly capture and preserve a scene. Do you want to preserve your youthful appearance forever? Do you want to preserve a memorable moment? The chance has come. Miracle Commerce will open its stores tomorrow and you can have an eternal memory with a small amount of money. I welcome everyone to experience it. Thank you for your support. That's all. The video transmission was not very stable, so Meng Qingwu did not continue. Otherwise, it would be too shameful. So she ended the special conference. Dad, Mom, I want to go. I want to preserve my youthful appearance so that when I grow old, I can see my past appearance. Dear, let's go too. When Meng Qingwu disappeared into the mirror and the glowing mirror quickly dimmed, turning back into a normal mirror, everyone present had different reactions. Some were pleasantly surprised, some were shocked, some were deep in thought, and some were filled with joy. There were many different reactions. This is really hateful. Gu Qianxiu gave a long sigh. If this thing could be made for 50 years, I would also be a handsome young man with red lips and white teeth. It's a pity. I won't be able to see my youthful appearance again. No matter what. How could they miss this chance? This old man must be one of the first to experience it. Gu Qianxiu did not even think as he ran to line up, completely forgetting why he came to Central State City. Who didn't want to stay young forever? This was almost impossible, but Miracle Commerce had given everyone a different method to stay young forever. Miracle Commerce was busy. All right. Take away the light. Take away all these things as well. The main hall was in a mess. Chu Tian was in the middle directing as the Miracle Commerce staff carried the lights and miscellaneous items, quickly leaving the main hall. Meng Qingwu rubbed her towering chest. Her head was already covered in a thin layer of sweat. Don't look at her calm appearance, the young Miss Hart was filled with nervousness. This kind of live broadcast in front of everyone was an unprecedented experience for Meng Qingwu. Wipe your sweat, it's been hard on the young miss. Chu Tian came over and personally wiped Meng Qingwu's sweat with a white handkerchief. Hey, take your hand off me. Meng Qingwu was a bit embarrassed, blocking all these people. She was a bit nervous as she said, was there really no problem with what we did just now? Sound and image are transmitted separately, will there be any problems? I say, young miss, Do you not believe me? This really hurts my heart. Meng Qingwu's face turned red. Do you even have a heart? With me here, there won't be any problems. Chu Tian brought down a jade-like mirror. Just wait and see. This thing will be popular throughout the country and the entire continent. Meng Qingwu nodded and stood up. She touched the smooth jade-like mirror. It really is hard to believe. How can this material have this kind of special ability? It can actually reflect a person's appearance to another place. You don't understand. The hidden image stone has the same ability as the hidden sound stone. Chu Tian said with a smile. The hidden sound stone can capture sound and the hidden image stone can capture light to store it. As long as we can find the right way, we can use these two materials. Look at this source energy array. Chu Tian turned the mirror over and said, this is a light-attributed light image array. The hidden sound stone can capture light, but it is not stable enough to form an image. The source energy array's function is to support the image. I'll teach you the principle in a bit. After Miracle Commerce grasps the sound and image transmission technology, we can think of a way to combine the two. Meng Qingwu's heart was filled with anticipation. Chu Tian, elder sister Qingwu. Nangong Yun impatiently charged in. Yingying and I are ready, now we're just waiting for you too. Meng Qingwu blankly asked, what are you doing? Of course we're taking pictures. Nangong Yun said with an excited expression. Let the 4 earliest partners of Miracle Commerce take the first picture of the continent. Chapter 260. The 3 of them walked into an empty laboratory with a strange piece of equipment in it. Yun Tianhe was fiddling with it while Meng Yingying was leading a few researchers, busying themselves with it. Chu Tian walked in and asked, Yingying, is it done? Meng Yingying gave a strong unsound and made a no problem gesture. All right, then let's begin. Chu Tian waved his hand at Yun Tianhe who was in charge of the equipment. Get ready, we're going to take a picture. Take a picture? Was this the camera Chu Tian wanted to make? The camera was different from the phonograph, but the spirit energy was similar. In order to differentiate it from the phonograph, everyone decided to call it a camera. It could capture light and store images. Meng Qingwu curiously looked at the camera. Because there were only a few cameras made, it was still very rough, but the structure was very complex. On a triangular stand, there was a square-shaped black box with a gun barrel sticking out, pointing in front of them. Chu Tian had changed into a new set of clothes and combed his hair into a very eye-catching style. He brought the little fox along. Yingying, young miss, Nangong, come over. Meng Yingying, Meng Qingwu, and Nangong Yun were all called over. Meng Qingwu was confused, because even Nangong Yun, who was usually the craziest, was solemn at this moment, appearing hot and charming. You guys are... Don't talk for now, we're going to take a picture. I'm not ready yet. I say, young miss, do you still need to prepare? Chu Tian forcefully pulled the 3 beauties over. Meng Qingwu had a blank expression while Meng Yingying and Nangong Yun had a face filled with excitement. No one had ever experienced this before, so they were really looking forward to it. Are you ready? Yun Tianhe placed a small chip into the groove and adjusted the equipment to aim at the people in front of him. I'm going to take a picture. Meng Yingying and Nangong Yun immediately adjusted their expressions. Wait. Chu Tian called for a stop. What are you doing? What a waste of my time. Chu Tian suggested. Think about it, this will be the world's first photograph. It is very likely that it will be passed down for thousands or even tens of thousands of years. It will become a moment in history that will mark an epic-making moment. Don't beat around the bush. Meng Yingying glared at him fiercely. If you have something to say, just say it. What I mean is, isn't it too uncreative for the 4 of us to hold onto such a historic photo like it's a piece of wood? Chu Tian said seriously, I don't want people to think that we are old-fashioned and inflexible when they see us in class or in textbooks tens of thousands of years later. The 3 girls smiled. That seemed to make sense. Meng Yingying asked, then what kind of pose should we take? How about this? Chu Tian suggested, in order to show Miracle Commerce's loving family style, I'll suffer a loss and offer my handsome face for you to kiss. Scram. Rogue. Go die. The 3 girls said at the same time. I knew there wouldn't be such a good thing. Forget it, forget it. Let's just take a pose and start taking a picture. Chu Tian and Meng Qingwu stood in the end. Meng Yingying stood on Chu Tian's left and Nangong Yun stood on Chu Tian's right. Nangong Yun and Meng Yingying both made a victory sign. Get ready. 3 2. The moment Yun Tianhe pressed the button, Chu Tian suddenly stretched out his arms. One hand wrapped around Meng Yingying's neck and the other hand wrapped around Meng Qingwu's waist. Kacha! Several source energy arrays lit up and a faint glow fell onto the 4 of them. Meng Yingying was filled with rage like thunder. She was like an angry rabbit. Bastard, you dare sneak attack us? Meng Qingwu kicked out with her long leg. Sorry, I couldn't control myself. Chu Tian nimbly dodged and hid to the side with a smile. Old Yun, how is the photo? It's done. Yun Tianhe took out the small chip and immediately placed it in Chu Tian's hands. The little fox was filled with interest. It took the lead and took a look. The 4 of them were reflected on the chip and looked exactly the same as the real person. It was like looking into a mirror. When the little fox saw itself in the photo, it excitedly pointed with its claw. Then it jumped up and down, looking very happy. Let me see. Meng Yingying and Nangong came over to take a look. Meng Yingying's nose was crooked from anger. In this photo, she was being hugged by Chu Tian. Her face was flushed red and she looked very cute. Meng Qingwu was filled with anger. Her waist was being hugged by Chu Tian and her originally smiling face was now filled with a trace of shock and nervousness. Not bad, not bad. Chu Tian said to Yun Tianhe, this is the effect I want. I want this photo to be passed down for thousands of years and let everyone be envious of me hugging a woman on my left and right, ha ha ha. Meng Qingwu rolled her eyes at him. It really is the same. Meng Yingying was attracted by the image on the small chip and did not pursue Chu Tian. She knit her brows and said, it's just that it's too small, it would be better if it was a bit bigger. You probably don't understand. Chu Tian said, this small hidden image stone chip is called a negative. After you put it into the camera and activate it with a source energy array, the energy inside the crystal will be released and it will capture the image in front of the camera. After we obtain this small negative, we can use it to make a photo. Chu Tian gave the negative to Yun Tianhe. Yun Tianhe immediately went to take care of it. After around 10 minutes, Yun Tianhe ran back with a tray of things in his hands. I'll make 10 different sized photos. What do you think? 4 heads immediately gathered. The largest one was a foot long and the photo of the 4 of them could be clearly seen. Wow! Meng Yingying shouted in pleasant surprise. It's so clear, it's like we're looking in a mirror. How can it be so clear when it's so big? Nangong Yun was also filled with praise. This is too incredible. The clarity of the photo is related to the density of the hidden image stone. The higher the density of the hidden image stone, the finer the light it can store, so the clearer the photo is. Even if this photo is enlarged to 3 meters, it will not be blurry at all. Meng Qingwu stroked the warm jade photo and her brows slightly knit together. Using jade as a medium, wouldn't the cost be a bit high? I'm afraid it won't be good for promotion. Vice Chairman doesn't need to worry at all. Yun Tianhe stroked his beard and said, actually the medium isn't important. The real thing is the surface layer of hidden image stone. This layer of hidden image stone can be plated on jade. It can also be plated on crystal, glass, beast skin, or even paper. It's all the same. Meng Qingwu revealed a surprised expression. This also means that any material can be used as a medium? Most materials can be used. Meng Qingwu was moved. Perhaps it wouldn't be long before the newspapers, books, and even the streets of Central State City would be filled with these high-definition and realistic pictures. Chu Tian raised the photo high up and was more satisfied the more he looked at it. What he was holding in his hand was not a normal photo. This was history. How many heroes had been submerged in the river of time? Chu Tian was able to freeze history. What kind of great significance was this? This was an era-changing invention. If a person had a source energy camera, no matter where they went, they would be able to take pictures. This world was very beautiful. Even if a person didn't leave their home, they would still be able to see the tip of the iceberg through photos. This thing is too fun. Meng Yingying loudly shouted, I still want to take pictures. I still want to take pictures. Nangong Yun even said, "You three are so close, I feel like I'm an outsider. How can this be? Boss, I want to take a picture with you alone." "No problem." Nangong Yun casually hugged Chu Tian's shoulder and the two of them took a picture together. "Ying, let's take a picture." All right. The two sisters stood together to take a picture. The little fox danced around, wanting to take a picture alone. Chu Tian also agreed and let it take a picture. Meng Ying was very happy. "It's too boring if it's just us. It's more interesting when everyone is together." "That's right." Nangong Yun had an expression of agreement. "I'll go and call Yun Yao, Kaidai, Aunt Chin, and the others over." Everyone gathered together and took pictures with all kinds of different poses. It was such a small camera, but they had a lot of fun playing with it. Since the camera has been tested internally, there are no problems. Chu Tian announced, "We'll open test it to the entire city tomorrow and let everyone experience this magic. In order to advertise, we'll make a few posters and let everyone in the city see it." "Posters?" Meng Ying asked in a curious voice. "What is a poster?" Chu Tian directly picked up the camera. "Come here, I'll take a picture for you." Chu Tian had Meng Ying hold the canned food and take several pictures. Chu Tian said to Meng Ying, "We'll print the pictures and make them 3 meters tall. Then we'll add some advertising words and post them in every city. I can guarantee that in just a few days, your canned food production will double." "Really?" "Of course, whether it's the newspapers or the radio stations, they all have blind spots. If we put these pictures in the most eye-catching places and streets in every city, it will be hard for people to ignore it. It will definitely attract attention and you, Ying, will become a star at that time." This was indeed a new method of publicity. Because it had never appeared on the continent before, the advertising effect would be very strong. There was no other advertising method that could be more direct than this. Every time Miracle Commerce released a new product, they would put up posters everywhere. Along with the radio stations, the effect could be imagined. Everyone played until late at night. Because the photo studio in the city was about to open, Chu Tian needed to do a final check before dawn to avoid any problems. So, Chu Tian left the headquarters first and went to Miracle Commerce's photo studio. Just as Chu Tian walked into a relatively secluded street. "Wait," Chen Bingyu suddenly said in a low voice, "Someone is following us." Chu Tian knit his brows. "Being followed? Who is it?" Chapter 261. Remnants of the Three Great Families? Impossible. There was no one in Central State City that dared to make a move against Chu Tian, and they did not have the ability to make a move against Chu Tian. Mind's lamp ignited. When his divine sense swept over, Chu Tian found several dozen people. These people really had a way of hiding their auras. If Chu Tian did not deliberately investigate, he would not have found them. What was even more shocking was that these people were very strong, with most of them being in the 5th to 6th awakened soul layer and the leader being in the peak 7th awakened soul layer. Although he could not compare to the remote elders of the great families, he could still be considered a peak expert in Central State. After the Chu, Luo, and Yi families' remote elders were killed, the Central State families did not have this kind of strength. These people definitely came from Imperial City. Had Shen Fengho not taken care of the martial ruler yet? Chu Tian knit his brows. He was not worried about the other side's strength, but rather he did not know that so many experts had infiltrated Central State City. How could he feel at ease? Chu Tian was not afraid of being ambushed, but he was worried about the people around him, especially Ying and the young miss. If their hearts were a bit darker and they were a bit more ruthless, these people would have the ability to capture Meng Ying and the young miss without anyone knowing. Chu Tian would not be able to do anything about it. They had to be eliminated. There seems to be quite a few of them. Chen Bingyu asked in a low voice, "Should we make a move?" "No, there are true soul realm experts among them." Chu Tian was confident in Chen Bingyu, but even with Chen Bingyu's strength, it was impossible to catch them all in one fell swoop. If we act rashly and alert them, it will be difficult to find them again in the city. Your meaning is? The enemy is in the dark while we are in the light. This is very disadvantageous. We need to find their nest and capture them all. Chu Tian said in a low voice, "We'll beat them at their own game. Let them capture me and I'll leave some traces. You should go back now and find old Yun and boss Yu. We'll deal with these rats in one fell swoop." Chen Bingyu felt it was too risky. If it is an assassination, Yu? At this time, a furry white head popped out, its black eyes staring at Chen Bingyu, as if it was saying, "Do you think this fox doesn't exist?" When Chen Bingyu saw the little fox, she immediately understood why Chu Tian was so fearless. That was right. I almost forgot. Chu Tian had a hidden bodyguard. This little fox did not have any battle strength, but the little fox was very smart. It also had a sealed hellfire demon soul puppet. The little fox used the ancient demon race's summoning technique, so it could summon at least 1 or 2 hell flames to help it fight. The hellfire demon's strength could not compare to when it was alive, but it was still at the peak 9th awakened soul layer. Even if there was one of the 8 marquises among the people plotting against Chu Tian would still be able to escape, so there was no problem with his safety. All right. Chen Bingyu no longer hesitated. Cao Bao led 50 royal knights into the city, while the other 50 waited outside the city to provide support. He thought that 50 people was more than enough to capture Chu Tian, but he never thought that Miracle Commerce's headquarters would be so heavily guarded and there was more than one true soul realm expert. He could not directly attack, so he could only wait for a chance. It was hard for Chu Tian to come out, but he had brought a super expert with him. Although the royal knights were not weak, it was not easy to capture someone from Chen Bingyu's hands. Even if they succeeded, they would have to pay a heavy price. So Cao Bao and the others were not anxious to make a move, so they followed and observed. Finally, the opportunity had arrived. Chu Tian walked halfway before thinking of something. He turned around to give Chen Bingyu a few orders and Chen Bingyu left on her own. Strange, could it be a trap? Cao Bao knit his brows. First watch this brat, don't make any rash moves. Li Hu, go see if that girl has gone far. A lean man followed them and returned after a few minutes. Captain, she has indeed gone back. All right, everyone prepare to make a move. Don't make any noise and quickly take her away. Several dozen black figures quickly spread out, surrounding Chu Tian. Chu Tian clearly saw this, but he pretended not to see it. He whistled as he walked, but when he turned a corner in front of him, 2 fists suddenly flew over. Chu Tian pretended to be panicked as he flew back. There's a thorn. Halfway through, Cao Bao charged behind him and his right arm was filled with spirit energy, turning it as black as ink as he heavily slashed at the back of Chu Tian's neck. A muffled sound rang out. The ground cracked from the impact. Chu Tian's protective spirit energy was broken and he fell to the ground unconscious. Idiot! Cao Bao thought it would take some effort, but who would have thought that this fellow would be so useless? He immediately waved his hand. Success, let's go. The 2 royal knights picked up Chu Tian and several dozen black figures flashed, disappearing from the street as if nothing had happened. Of course Chu Tian was pretending to be unconscious. Cao Bao did not know that Chu Tian cultivated the starlight immortal body. Because of the long-term starlight tempering, his body was very strong. Not to mention that Chu Tian had already made preparations. If a peak 7th awakened soul layer expert attacked with all their might, Chu Tian might not be able to block it. But if they didn't kill him and just wanted to knock Chu Tian unconscious, then the strength would be within the acceptable range. Right now it was the middle of the night and the city gates were closed. If they brought Chu Tian out of the city, it would attract attention. Cao Bao found an ordinary house and placed Chu Tian in the basement. Then he busied himself with his work. Soul locking cuffs. Origin binding rope. Chu Tian's hands were cuffed by a pair of black handcuffs. This was a handcuff specially made for awakened soul cultivators. Not only was it very hard, it could withstand the strength of a giant elephant and it could even suppress an awakened soul cultivator's source spirit. An awakened soul cultivator's source spirit could not be used, so their strength would be greatly reduced. This was not all. Cao Bao used a rope covered in runes to tie up Chu Tian. This rope could seal his meridians and stop his spirit energy circulation, further weakening his ability to resist. This was a professional technique, so it was impossible for Chu Tian to break free. Li Hu, Go inform the sir and have him come back as soon as possible. Yes. Everyone else, go to the courtyard and keep watch. The royal knights did not notice that a little fox had quietly appeared behind Chu Tian. It used its teeth to break the rope and then began to bite the handcuffs. In just a short while, it had broken the handcuffs in half. The runes on the handcuffs had already lost their effect and Chu Tian could easily break free. Qiao Bao thought that it was impossible for Chu Tian to escape, so he did not care about Chu Tian. He did not know that Chu Tian could escape at any time. On the other side, as soon as Chu Tian was taken away, Miracle Commerce made a move. Yun Tianhe, the 5 Yu brothers, and the other experts under Miracle Commerce all moved out. They immediately found the house where Chu Tian was being held. It's here? After Boss Yu confirmed it, he immediately said in a hoarse voice, "How bold, daring to take away the chairman in Central State City. We can't let them go today. Go. Kill them." The 5 Yu brothers were all true Soul Realm experts, and there were 60-70 illustrious Soul Realm Giant Shark Gang high-level members. Just the Giant Shark Gang's strength was enough to deal with Qiao Bao's group, not to mention Shen Bingyu, Yun Tianhe, and the other experts as well as Miracle Commerce and the Yun family's elites. Wait. Yun Tianhe stopped him. "They might be Imperial City's people, so we won't kill them. It's fine as long as we bring them out." The others thought about it and felt that it was right. It was not a good thing for Chu Tian to oppose Imperial City. Boss Yu changed his order, "Then don't kill them and finish this battle as quickly as possible." Chen Bingyu, Yun Tianhe, and the 5 Yu brothers. The 7 true Soul Realm experts attacked first, instantly subduing the several royal knights. By the time the other royal knights came to their senses, the 7 of them had brought over 200 experts with them and continued their assault. How could the royal knights have thought that as soon as they brought Chu Tian back, they would be surrounded by Miracle Commerce? "Captain, this is bad. We've been surrounded by a large group of experts. We won't be able to hold on for much longer. This fast. How is this possible? Hold on, stall for time for me." Qiao Bao felt that this was bad and immediately wanted to take Chu Tian away. "Go, move the captives and immediately retreat." Who would have thought that when Qiao Bao reached out to grab Chu Tian? So, an unremarkable fox suddenly appeared in front of him. It spat out a dark red needle from its mouth. This needle ignored the protective essence energy and pierced into Qiao Bao's body. It instantly caused damage to Qiao Bao's meridians, and at the same time, shattered Qiao Bao's protective essence energy. Chu Tian shattered the handcuffs and released a strong energy. A jet black demon god sword source spirit soared into the sky and slashed at Qiao Bao. "This is bad. He was pretending. We've been tricked." It was already too late to realize it now. Qiao Bao was sent flying out of the room. Although his cultivation base was higher than Chu Tian's, with his sneak attack, Qiao Bao was still heavily injured. Qiao Bao angrily jumped up. A fishbone staff descended from the sky and stabbed into the ground beside Qiao Bao. It immediately formed a circular water screen barrier, firmly locking Qiao Bao in place. "I advise you not to move." Boss Yu walked over and coldly looked at him. The entire courtyard had been broken through in less than 2 minutes. The 50 royal knights were all captured and Qiao Bao was not able to escape. There were so many experts participating in this battle, but the movement was very small, not causing any panic in the city at all. Qiao Bao found this a bit hard to believe. How was this possible? Central State City was just a main city. How could there be so many experts? With this kind of elite force and this kind of fast reaction speed, this force could not be underestimated even in Imperial City. "An idiot like you thinks you can catch me?" Chu Tian patted his clothes as he walked out. He looked at the imprisoned Qiao Bao. "Speak, who sent you?" Qiao Bao gave a cold snort, but did not say anything. "I can guess it even if you don't say it." Chu Tian waved his hand at Boss Yu. "First lock them up and then immediately clean up the scene. This fellow is not the leader, he should just be in charge of the operation." Yun Tianhe was shocked. "What? This person is actually not the leader. I just heard that they have already sent people to find the real leader. We'll set up an ambush here and catch them all in one fell swoop." Qiao Bao suddenly broke out in laughter. "If you want to fight against Sir Gu, you're simply seeking death." Yun Tianhe was a little surprised. With Qiao Bao's strength, he was actually not the leader. Then who was the one behind him? How strong was he? Where was he hiding in Central State City? That's our photo studio. Open it as usual. Chu Tian said, this matter will be handled in secret. I don't want to cause a stir in Central State City. I want to see what kind of important person Imperial City has sent this time. Just wait for your death. You nameless pawns actually dare scheme against that, sir. I'm afraid that when you see him, you'll wet your pants in fright. Ha! Qiao Bao was still laughing as he was being taken away. This was the first time he had heard of someone wanting to deal with the great scholar. Wasn't this a joke? The great scholar was the #1 scholar of the southern summer country. He was the mountain and sea in the hearts of countless intellectuals. A single word from him was not something a normal person could bear. If they touched a single hair on the great scholar's head, they would be going against the countless scholars of the southern summer country. Noisy! Chu Tian waved his hand. First stuff his mouth. Chapter 262. How could Gu Qianxiu know what had happened? He did not rest for an entire night until he found the miracle photo studio. As a scholar, Gu Qianxiu was always filled with curiosity towards new things. He decided to personally experience this magical photography technique. As for catching Chu Tian, he would put it aside for now. What made Gu Qianxiu speechless was that when he arrived at the door of the photo studio, there was already a long line. How long would he have to wait? Gu Qianxiu's heart skipped a beat. He walked in front of the first person. This was a couple that was probably here to take a photo. Hello, I can't wait that long. Can you give your spot to this old man? Go, go, go. You're just taking advantage of your seniority. The young man waved his hand in disdain. Today, even a noble master would have to line up. Gu Qianxiu said, I can buy it with money. Buy it with money? The young man looked at him. How much can you pay? I'm telling you, I spent a lot of effort to get this spot. Don't treat it like I'm a beggar. Of course, of course. Gu Qianxiu's heart filled with joy. He reached out to touch his money bag, but his expression suddenly changed. This is bad. When he was paying the bill in the tavern, Gu Qianxiu had left all his gold coins there. Gu Qianxiu was a scholar and not a merchant, so he did not have the habit of bringing money with him. I forgot to bring the money. Gu Qianxiu awkwardly looked at the two of them before taking off a ring from his hand. How about we exchange it for money? This ring sparkled, clearly not a common object. Something taken from the great scholar's body? How could it be simple? It was enough for a normal person to eat and drink for 10 lifetimes. Who would have thought that the two of them would not know anything? Seeing that Gu Qianxiu's simple clothes did not look like a rich person, they thought he was a swindler. Old man, I'm telling you, don't think that you can fool me with a broken ring. If you want this spot, you have to buy it with real money or scram. Don't waste my time here. I don't lack this bit of money. Gu Qianxiu's nose went crooked from anger. This old man is the respected great scholar. Even the southern summer 8 marquises had to respectfully greet him, and a normal citizen like you dared to teach this old man a lesson? Gu Qianxiu was angry, but because of his status, he could not argue with a normal citizen. Just when he was feeling helpless. At this moment, a figure flashed by and landed beside him. It was the vice-captain of the Royal Knights. Tigerly, sir, we've caught him. The captain invites you to come over quickly. You caught him so quickly? Gu Qianxiu knit his brows and waved his hand. Don't worry about this for now. Do you have any money on you? I did. Great, take it out. Li Hu scratched his head in confusion. He had finally caught the man, but the grand scholar didn't seem to be in a hurry at all. Although he was full of doubts, how could he dare to refuse a loan from the grand scholar? He immediately took out the money bag. Gu Qianxiu looked inside and saw that there were over 100 gold coins as well as several gold coin cards. He did not count the exact amount. This ring is for you. Gu Qianxiu threw the ring to Li Hu and then the bag of money to the young man. Take a look for yourself. The young man opened the bag of money and there were several gold coins shining. There were also several gold coin cards. Although he did not see them clearly, one of them was 1,000. Oh my God! Was there a need to do this for a position? The young man quickly put away the bag of money and said with a laugh, since old sir is sincere, Then this junior will fulfill his promise and give this position to you. The young man quickly took the women and left. He really was a lucky bastard. This amount of money was enough to spend for half a lifetime. He should not show off his wealth, so he quickly ran away. In any case, he was from Central State, so why would he be afraid of not having a chance to take a photo? Like this, Guchencio was placed first. When the people who came later saw that Guchencio had successfully bought a position, the rich people all made a move. The front positions were all sold for several hundred gold coins. Tiger Li anxiously scratched his head. Was the grand scholar possessed? How honorable was his status? Why did he come here to join in the fun with these ordinary people? When the first ray of sunlight fell from the sky, the line in front of the photo studio had already filled the entire street, but the photo studio had not opened yet. What is going on? We've been waiting all night and the sun is already up. Why haven't they opened yet? Guchencio was a little worried. Could it be that Chu Tian had been caught, so the opening was delayed? So he shouted, "You merchants have to keep your promises. Since you said you're going to open today, then you have to open." Everyone did not complain much. The originally tightly shut iron gate suddenly opened slowly. Several beautiful Miracle Commerce employees came out and looked at everyone with a faint smile. One of them said, "Everyone, don't be anxious, we have already finished adjusting it. Now please line up to experience it." Yun Tianhe revealed a look of joy as he said to Tiger Li, "Wait here for me, I'll head over once I'm done." After saying this, he ran into the photo studio with his head held high. Tiger Li's mouth almost fell to the ground. Was this person really the grand scholar? Guchencio walked into the photo studio and was shocked to find that there were many large pictures placed in the photo studio. There were forests, grasslands, lakes, and even the sky. Each picture was 3 meters tall and was very clear, just like a mirror. "Old mister, please choose a background." A white-robed young man came out. Guchencio recognized this person. Wasn't this Yun Xiao from yesterday's square? Being able to choose a background for a photo, this was truly a strange matter. Guchencio pointed at the sky background and said, "I want this." Yun Xiao waved his hand at the staff behind him. "Begin." Guchencio was guided by the Miracle Commerce staff. He faced the Miracle Commerce camera and felt a faint light sweep across his body. Yun Xiao made a gesture to indicate that it was done. "What? That fast? Old mister, go to the side room and print the photos." Yun Xiao said to Guchencio and then said to the staff, "Have the next one come in." Guchencio did not even have time to think about it and the photos were already done. Wasn't this too fast? When Guchencio came to the side room, there were several strange instruments with several male employees operating them. They asked Guchencio what size he wanted and what kind of material he wanted. The size of the material was related to the price. The cheapest one only needed several dozen silver coins. Of course, Guchencio had to choose the most expensive crystal. Then he saw the staff take out a blank crystal sheet and stuff it into a device that looked like a printing machine. A layer of crystal was quickly plated on it, giving the surface a mirror-like texture, and Guchencio's appearance was clearly displayed on it. Perfect. Too perfect. Guchencio stood in the air with eagles flying behind him and a slowly approaching airship. Every strand of white hair and every wrinkle was clearly displayed. This was a technology that had been passed down through the ages. The camera did not look big, but if it was a bit more portable, it would have a different meaning. Mercenaries, traveling scholars, bards, all of these people had a camera in their hands, so they could take pictures of the places they walked and the things they saw, leaving behind countless precious pictures for their descendants, benefiting them for more than 1,000 years. Guchencio held the photo like it was a treasure as he walked out of the photo studio. If it was said that he had come to cause trouble for Chu Tian a day ago, the current Guchencio already had a trace of respect for Chu Tian. Not to mention his character, he was indeed an inventor worthy of respect. Guchencio felt that he was too lucky. He had met Mr. Yu, who was as knowledgeable as the Sea of Stars a few days ago, and now he had met Chu Tian, who had bold and imaginative ideas. If Mr. Yu was a proper person, then Chu Tian was a genius. One proper and one strange. It truly made countless scholars blush with shame. Guchencio asked, "You didn't hurt Chu Tian, right?" Sir Gu can be assured. Li Hu patted his chest and said, Captain Chow only knocked him unconscious and is currently being closely guarded. We're just waiting for Sir to deal with him. All right, we'll go now. The two of them walked to the secret courtyard. Li Hu stopped in front of the courtyard. Strange? Where are the surrounding people? Gu Qianxiu jumped into the air and landed in the middle of the courtyard. There was not a single person around and there was a strange aura surrounding him. This is bad, something had happened. When Gu Qianxiu had this thought, a source energy array suddenly appeared on the ground. Gu Qianxiu's position was right in the middle of the source energy array and a strong binding force instantly suppressed Gu Qianxiu's spirit energy. Quickly go. Catch that bastard. A large group of people appeared from all directions. The ones leading them were Boss Yu and Qin Bingyu, as well as several illustrious Soul Realm experts. Li Hu knew that his captain was in danger when he saw this scene. He immediately angrily shouted, Rats! Do you know who this person in front of you is? You are. When Yun Tianhe came out, he saw Gu Qianxiu with a single glance. He felt his body tremble and his forehead was covered in cold sweat. The great scholar Gu Qianxiu. Yun Tianhe opened his mouth. Everyone was taken aback. What? This old man was the great scholar Gu Qianxiu. Everyone was attacking the most famous old scholar in southern Xia. It's over, they had really poked the hornet's nest. The tens of thousands of scholars in southern Xia would condemn them, they would curse them to death. Although they knew that the people sent by Imperial City were not small, they never thought that it would be this great deity. Li Hu angrily roared, You bunch of ants, since you recognize the great scholar, why haven't you given up yet? Everyone present, including Boss Yu, hesitated. Chu Tian had already prepared a trap. With everyone's strength, even if they were facing one of the 8 marquises, they would still be able to capture him. Only the person they were facing was the great scholar Gu Qianxiu. Did they really have to make a move against him? Gu Qianxiu was secretly happy. Having a big reputation was very useful. He cleared his throat with a dignified expression, Put down your weapons. At this time. What fart? Capture him. The small courtyard's doors opened and a young man came out. He angrily stared at Gu Qianxiu as he roared, I didn't hesitate to teach you. Old man, you actually came to harm me. Li Hu, Boss Yu, and Yun Tianhe were instantly petrified. Chu Tun was calling the great scholar an old man? This was insulting all the scholars in the country. The saliva of these scholars could drown Chu Tian to death. You are. When Gu Qianxiu saw Chu Tian, not only was he not angry, his old face turned red and his eyes almost popped out. You? Chu Tian ordered, Capture this ungrateful old man. Chen Bingyu was the first to make a move, knocking Gu Qianxiu to the ground with a single palm. The others saw that things had reached this point and could not be saved, so they charged forward and tied up the great scholar. It's a misunderstanding. It's a misunderstanding. When Gu Qianxiu was being carried away, he loudly shouted, Oh no, Mr. Chu, give me a chance to explain. Chapter 263. Cao Bao was locked in a secret room. These royal knights never would have dreamed that they would fall in this kind of place. But with the status of a royal knight and the great scholar's support, they could at least keep their lives. Even if Chu Tian was bold, he would not dare kill a royal knight. Even if Chu Tian dared to touch a royal knight, he would not dare touch the great scholar. Gu Qianxiu was a household name in southern Xia. Normal children might not know who the 8 marquises were, but they would definitely know the great scholar's name. Gu Qianxiu had been studying in various countries for over 20 years, bringing back large amounts of books for southern Xia. Half of the textbooks in the 8 states' academies were brought over by the great scholar from a large country or even an empire. If the great scholar did not contribute to southern Xia, where would there be so many successful scholars? If the great scholar did not lay the foundation for southern Xia, where would there be so many rich merchants? Gu Qianxiu had raised the level of talismans, alchemy, and weapon refining in southern Xia by a level. Gu Qianxiu's contributions to the kingdom could not be compared to any other marquis, so although he did not have a title, he still surpassed a title. Even the strong southern summer king had to be respectful, personally giving Gu Qianxiu the title of Great Scholar. For many years, Gu Qianxiu had been the benchmark for scholars in southern Xia. The great scholar's knowledge was the highest level in the kingdom. Every time there was a natural disaster, Gu Qianxiu would always be able to solve it. Every time there was a difficult problem, Gu Qianxiu would always have an effective solution. If anyone dared to go against Gu Qianxiu, they would not just go against the kingdom. This was simply going against the millions of scholars and citizens of southern Xia. His intelligence was deserted and the saliva of the people was enough to drown him 8-10 times. Pay. Qiao Bao took off the cloth covering his mouth. Everyone hold on, these idiots still don't know that the great scholar has personally come to Central State. As long as the great scholar reveals his name, how can these rats be arrogant? Just you wait, we'll definitely get back at them. Before he finished, sounds of fighting could be heard from the courtyard outside. In less than 5 minutes, 2 tied-up men were thrown in. One of them was the vice-captain of the Royal Knights, Tiger Li, and the other was a plain-looking old man in a gray robe. Qiao Bao's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Grand Scholar. Gu Qianxiu was tightly tied up and it was unknown who had punched him a few times. Even his face was swollen and he had a sorry appearance. How could he be the dignified and respected great scholar? Had the people of the Central Plains gone crazy? Was there no one who could recognize the grand scholar? The respected number 1 scholar of the southern summer country was actually receiving this kind of treatment. Do you know what you have done? Qiao Bao and the others roared with righteous indignation. Do the people of the Central State want to incite the wrath of the world? Qiao Bao, don't talk too much. Gu Qianxiu sat up. Not only was he not enraged, he had a depressed look on his face. This loss was not undeserved. This girl is really ruthless. My old bones were almost smashed into pieces. Gu Qianxiu's eyes fell onto Qin Bingyu. I know you are Chu Tian's bodyguard. Where is Chu Tian? I have something to say to him. Gu Qianxiu did not know how to describe his current mood. Pleasant surprise? Or depression? No matter who it was, they could not understand that the foreign merchant Mr. Yu was actually Central State's Chu Tian. If he knew this earlier, even with Gu Qianxiu's courage, he would not have dared to bring people to Central State to cause trouble for Chu Tian. Gu Qianxiu had been with Chu Tian for a few days in Qing State and he knew that this person was a bit arrogant, but Gu Qianxiu was sure that he was not an evil person and he was not someone who sought fame. There was definitely a problem with the superstitions sent by Imperial City. A strong searchlight was turned on. Gu Qianxiu narrowed his eyes. The crowd in front of him moved a bit and a chair was placed in front of him. A person sat down on the chair and crossed his legs. Because of the light, he could not see the other side's expression, but a familiar voice sounded in his ears. Speak, who are you and how many people are there? You can kill me, but you can't humiliate me. Qiao Bao was filled with rage. The respected royal knight captain was actually being interrogated like a criminal. If you have the guts, then kill me. Brat, you really have guts. I like people with guts. Chu Tian waved his hand at old Fifth Yu. Drag him to the side and beat him for me. Several giant shark gang members directly dragged Qiao Bao out and began to beat him up. They really dared to beat him. Was the central province really occupied by a group of bandits? Stop, we can talk. Gu Qianxiu quickly said, whatever you want to know, I'll tell you. Then quickly say it. These people are the royal palace's Griffin Knights, directly listening to the royal family. They were specially sent to Central State for this old man to lead. There are a total of 100 of them. The others and the Griffin mounts should be waiting outside the city. Qiao Bao revealed a look of disbelief. Great scholar, Fu? Where did the great scholar's iron bones go? How could he give in so easily? Chu Tian then asked, with just you people? No, the royal knights are in charge of this operation. Gu Qianxiu did not hide anything. Southern State's Western Marquis is already rushing over to Central State and will personally send your excellency back to Imperial City. Chu Tian's nose went crooked from anger. Damn, who came up with this vicious idea? Who doesn't know that I have a grudge with the Western Marquis and wants the Western Marquis to send me back to Imperial City? It's more like sending me to the heavens. Your Excellency Chu Tian. Gu Qianqiu quickly explained, this is all a misunderstanding. This old man really did not know your identity, otherwise I wouldn't have come up with this plan to offend you. His words didn't just stun the royal knights. Yun Tianhe and the others were also stunned. What? The great scholar knew Chu Tian? This old man can understand that you are filled with dissatisfaction right now. But seeing that you are a royal knight, there is no need to bother with these people. Gu Qianqiu said this and suddenly looked at Yun Tianhe. Old Yun, why aren't you saying a few words for me? I, Gu Qianqiu, always keep my words. You should know that I will not go back on them. Chao Bao and the other royal knights were speechless. What was the great scholar afraid of? Even in front of the Southern Summer King, he dared to glare at them, but now he was acting like a yes man in front of these people, even looking like he was afraid of them. That's right, the royal proclamation. Gu Qianqiu pointed with his eyes. The royal proclamation is in my pocket, and there is also the calm martial ruler's secret letter. As long as you read it, you will understand what is going on. I was only given a temporary order to lead the royal knights, so I did not know anything about this before. I did not have any ill intentions towards you. Chen Bingyu brought out the royal proclamation and the secret letter. Chu Tian first took a look at the royal proclamation and saw that it was indeed the Southern Summer King's orders. He wanted Gu Qianqiu to cooperate with the Western Marquis and bring him to trial. The calm martial ruler's secret letter? Chu Tian opened the secret letter and tightly knit his brows. This letter listed all of Chu Tian's crimes and was even more detailed than the royal proclamation. It even mentioned the personal grudges between Chu Tian and the great scholar. If it wasn't mentioned, Chu Tian would have already forgotten about it. When Chu Tian first came to Central State City, in order to quickly attract the Yun family's attention, he had created a show of causing havoc in the Yun sect. At that time, there were several important scholars in the Yun sect, and the show was Chu Tian's former student. How could Chu Tian care about these small characters? He didn't even remember what he said in the past, and the show was not respectful to the great scholar. This was a bit thought-provoking. The calm martial ruler gave this letter to the great scholar. Wasn't he trying to borrow a knife to kill him? It was a good thing that Chu Tian had met Gu Qianqiu in Central State and taught him quite a bit of knowledge. Gu Qianqiu did not dare make a move against him now, otherwise it would be hard to say what the result would be. Could Shen Fengho have failed to persuade the calm martial ruler? Or perhaps the calm martial ruler wanted to kill him? Was he trying to get rid of Chu Tian and take the secret of the source energy weapons for himself? If there was no problem with this letter, no matter how one looked at it, Chu Tian's situation was not good. The Southern Summer King was dissatisfied with Chu Tian and the three rulers could not tolerate Chu Tian, so how could miracle commerce still have a foothold in Southern Xia? Gu Qianqiu saw that Chu Tian was a bit serious and immediately said, Sir Chu Tian does not need to worry, this old man has quite a bit of status in Imperial City. As long as this old man vouches for you, the king will definitely pardon you. Even if you have a grudge with the three rulers, they will still give me a bit of face. Chu Tian, if the calm martial ruler cannot be relied on, the great scholar can help you. Yun Tianhe said to Chu Tian in a low voice, this old man has a bit of friendship with me, he can be trusted. The great scholar's strength could not compare to the three rulers and his influence could not compare, but his influence could be compared. At least he could give Chu Tian more help than a normal marquis. Chu Tian was a bit hesitant. Leader, chairman. A giant shark gang member quickly charged in. This is a bad matter. Old Fifth Yu knit his brows. What is going on? Our brothers have discovered a large number of warships on the Four States Lake. It seems like the Southern State Army is heading towards Central State. With a large momentum, I'm afraid they do not have good intentions. What? Southern State Army? The royal proclamation clearly told the Western Marquis to escort you back to Imperial City. It didn't tell him to mobilize the Southern State Army. Gu Qianqiu's face slightly sunk. Chu Tian, if it really is the Southern State Army, then Central State situation is not good. Believe this old man, I'll think of a way to help you block them. Chu Tian gave a laugh. The Western Marg hates me deeply, I'm afraid he won't give the great scholar any face. At the very least, I have 100 royal knights to help you. Chao Bao shouted when he heard this. Great scholar, our mission is clearly. Don't forget, the royal proclamation clearly states that you are under my control and that you have to listen to this old man's orders. Gu Qianqiu faced these royal knights and quickly regained his dignity. Do you want to go against the royal proclamation? This Chu Tian is not our enemy. Gu Qianqiu said to Chu Tian, we don't have much time left. Chu Tian hesitated before nodding. All right, then I'll believe you this time. Go and release them. Immediately close the city gates and prepare for battle. After Qiao Bao was released, he took out a strange flute from his chest. He forcefully blew it into the sky and a sharp sound pierced through the clouds. In less than 10 minutes, there was a clear cry in the sky as over 100 griffins slowly flew into Central State City. The Central State citizens were all shocked. These were the legendary griffins. Each one was a level 2 demon beast, and these mounts were worth several tens of millions of gold coins. The Griffin Knights were the most mysterious and powerful army in southern Xia. Now that the Griffin Knights had appeared in Central State City, how could the people not be shocked? Following this, all the city gates were closed and the citizens were asked to enter the city. The city guards were quickly mobilized. It seemed like something big was about to happen in Central State City. Chapter 264. On the vast Four States Lake, there was a strong wind that blew away the mist. A large mass of black flags appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Don't. The war drums were like thunder. Killing intent soared into the sky. A cold pressure covered the skies of Central State City. Central State City had been built for several hundred years without any danger, so this kind of scene had never been seen before. Almost everyone was stunned. Several hundred ships arrived at the port, with most of them being medium to large ships. This was a large army of at least 100,000 people. The citizens of Central State City were all stunned. This is the Southern State Army. What is the Southern State Army doing in Central State? The Southern State Army did not give the Central State people any time to react or question them. The decks opened up and small boats filled with soldiers charged onto the shore like ants. War horses neighed and flags flew in the air as countless cavalry disembarked. Almost in an instant, the Central State City docks were occupied. Countless armored soldiers holding blades in their hands were like a rising tide as they charged towards Central State City. When had the citizens ever seen an army pressing down on a city before? This was the rhythm of a battle. The Southern State Army had suddenly attacked and Central State City was not prepared at all. A warning horn sounded in Central State City and the Central State soldiers began to set up defenses. Thousands of archers quickly ran onto the city walls as rows of snow-white arrows aimed at the Southern State Army. Stop. If you take another step forward, we'll shoot. The Southern State Army didn't care about the warnings from the Central State Army. In a very short period of time, they had already organized their formation. The Central State Army was covered in a cold sweat. They had come prepared, but the Central State Army wasn't prepared enough. Even if it was a head-on confrontation, the Central State Army couldn't compare to the Southern State Army in all aspects. Central State was surrounded by no danger, so there were not many soldiers stationed there and they did not have any battle experience. The Southern State Army was not the same. The Southern State Army was on the south side of southern Xia and had the heavy responsibility of guarding the border. Whether it was the quality of the army or battle experience, the Central State Army could not compare. If they really fought, their chances of winning were very slim. At this moment, a white-bearded old man riding a griffin flew out of Central State City, quickly appearing in the sky above the Southern State Army. He loudly shouted, "The leader in front, is it the Western Marquis, Shangguan Hong?" "That's me." The Western Marquis was riding a giant southern barbarian battle rhinoceros that was covered in heavy armor. When he saw Gu Qianqiu on the griffin, he gave a few laughs. "So it's the great scholar, I never thought that you would be faster than me. Since it's like this, I ask you to help this Marquis take down that thief Chu Tian." Gu Qianqiu jumped up and fell down from several dozen meters in the air. It was like a cannonball hitting the ground, causing the surrounding Southern State Knights to be shocked, The Western Marquis has probably transferred over half of the southern state elites. This battle array is just too big. Zhongzhou County is the territory of the kingdom. If the army barges into the Zhongzhou County, it will ignite the flames of war and start a civil war. I'm afraid this is against the laws of the kingdom. The great scholar's words are wrong. Central state is already in chaos and southern state is here to help, so how could there be a civil war? The Western Marquis looked in the direction of Central State City and took out a golden token from his chest, not to mention, I am under the orders of my king and the refined ruler to capture that traitor Chu Tian. With the king's order here, who dares stop me? Gu Qinxiu's brows knit even tighter. Since you have the king's order, why are you mobilizing the army? That thief Chu Tian is arrogant. The last royal envoy was crippled by him. Such a deranged person, I don't think he'll just obediently wait to be captured. This thief has a strong influence in Central State, so if he is not seriously ill, it will be hard to deter him. The Western Marquis righteously said, you should know that Chu Tian has secretly swallowed the 3 great families of Central State and has already made a name for himself. If he resists, this Marquis can only lead the army to attack. The Western Marquis did not want to listen to this bookworm's nonsense. Chu Tian crippling the royal envoy is a rebellion. Listen to my orders, advance. The Southern State Army also blew their horns. The army formed several formations and spread out on the plains. The siege weapons were spread out, as if they could attack Central State City at any moment. A strong sense of oppression spread out, as if it was going to crush Central Continent City. The Central State citizens were all scared silly. The Southern State Army was very famous among the 8 states of the Southern Summer Country. Southern State bordered the Southern Barbarians, and the Southern State Army had been fighting with the Barbarians for a long time, so they had rich battle experience. There were several battalions that were directly recruited from the Barbarians, which was the one and only Barbarian heavy infantry battalion in the 8 states. The Southern Barbarians were a branch of the human race. The Barbarians were all tall and sturdy, with an average height of around 2 meters. They had jet black skin, strong muscles, tough bones, and a cruel nature. These were the characteristics of the barbarians. Even if these barbarian soldiers did not cultivate, they could rely on brute force to fight against the kingdom's 5th body refinement layer soldiers. If they were properly trained and cultivated, their battle strength would be very terrifying, so they could form the strongest heavy armored assault team. The Western Marquis had even brought the barbarian army. They were completely prepared to attack the city this time. The Western Marquis had waited for this chance for a long time. After all, the Western Marquis' successor, Shangguan Feichen, had been half crippled by Chu Tian, so it could be imagined how angry the Western Marquis was. Back in Thunder State, the Western Marquis had the thought of killing Chu Tian, but who would have thought that Chu Tian would use some unknown method to kill the Abyss Demon and obtain the support of the Thunder State citizens? Adding in Shen Fengho and the Golden Arrow Marquis, these 2 cold marquises, the Western Marquis could not make a move. Who would have thought that Chu Tian would seek death? He had actually crippled the envoy sent by the imperial city. The refined ruler took this chance to give the Western Marquis a chance. The Western Marquis understood the refined ruler's meaning. This was a chance for him to take revenge. As for leading the army into Central State, one was to eradicate Chu Tian's influence, while the other was to take over the miracle commerce. How could the Southern Summer King care about a nameless soldier? The Western Marquis could use a mistake or Chu Tian's strong resistance to kill him. Like this, the hatred in his heart would be resolved. Citizens of Central State City, listen up. The Western Marquis rode the Southern Barbarian Rhinoceros to the front of Central State City. He held a giant pen in his hand as he pointed at Central State City and shouted, I am the Southern State Marquis, Shangguan Hong. I have led the Southern State elites here today to suppress the traitor Chu Tian. The citizens and soldiers in the city are innocent, so if you open the gates and hand them over, this Marquis will heavily reward you. Saying this, the Western Marquis' voice changed and became sharp. If anyone dares to resist, they will be punished the same as the traitor Chu Tian. All the Central State soldiers will not be able to escape punishment. If it's light, they will be exiled, and if it's heavy, they will be executed. The Central State citizens will also be implicated. Gu Qianxiu's expression changed. Good Western Marquis. He didn't even attack the city and wanted to attack the heart? The Western Marquis had the royal decree, so he had a reason to attack. The Southern State Army of 100,000 was enough to make a normal person wet their pants, so the Central State Army could not stop the Southern State Army. The Western Marquis words could cause a riot in the Central State Army and the Central State citizens. At that time, the Western Marquis would not even need to personally attack the city, and Central State City would be in chaos. No one wanted to go against the royal decree. No one wanted to be caught in the crossfire. The 100,000 soldiers took this chance to shout out in unison, "Traitor Chutun, die! Traitor Chutun, die! Traitor Chutun, die!" This voice pierced through the sky like thunder, exploding in the skies of Central State City. Shangguanhong was filled with pride. The Western Marquis was representing the royal army. When had the country bumpkins of Central State City ever seen such a big scene? The Western Marquis was one of the 8 marquises of the southern summer country, guarding the southern border. His fame was spread far and wide, even surpassing the half-retired Shin Fengho. Today, he was leading the army to shout out in front of the city to suppress Chu Tian's momentum, causing the Central State citizens to panic. Once the Central State citizens panicked, they would be afraid of being implicated and would use Chu Tian as a scapegoat. This Marquis will give you 3 minutes. If you don't open the city gates in 3 minutes, this Marquis will attack the city with 10,000 arrows and the casualties will be decided by the heavens. After the battle, everyone will be punished, so you better think this through. Think about your families. Do you really want to drag your entire family to be buried with a single traitor? Shangguanhong increased his bargaining chip. You don't want to open the city gates? When the 10,000 arrows fall, you will be buried with Central State City. This world always belonged to the strong. Even if he caused a large amount of casualties in Central State City, no one could do anything to him. First, Shangguanhong was one of the 8 marquises. Second, Shangguanhong had the support of the 3 rulers. And third, Shangguanhong was using the royal army's banner. A ruthless slaughter was not a big deal. Central State City was silent for a few seconds before a wave of voices exploded out like a tsunami. Chu Tian is not guilty. Chu Tian is not guilty. Chu Tian is not guilty. Central State City erupted with a roar that was even louder than the 100,000 Southern State soldiers. It was like a giant wave that drowned out the Southern Summer Army's momentum. These were the shouts of the several million citizens of Central State City. What did 100,000 Southern State soldiers count for? They were nothing in front of the several million citizens of Central State City. The Western Marquis was stunned and the Southern Summer Army was stunned. This kind of giant formation did not scare Central State City, but rather it incited the resistance of the Central State citizens. We vow to defend Central State to the death. We vow to defend Central State to the death. Southern Summer Dogs. Scram out of Central State for me. The people of Central State City were filled with excitement as their voices became louder and louder. There were even some people who took out loudspeakers to shout. Under this kind of overwhelming momentum, the Southern State Army was actually being suppressed. Even an officer with a bit of a brain could see this. The soldiers and civilians were united. This city would be hard to take. If they fought a hard battle, the Southern State Army would not be able to win. The hearts of the people are like this. What else can I say? Gu Qianxiu was moved as he emotionally said, "Western Mar retreat." Good traitor Chu Tian, actually buying the hearts of the people like this. This will only make it more obvious that he is rebelling. The Western Marquis gritted his teeth as he said, "This Marquis will not let him grow. All soldiers listen to my orders. Prepare to attack the city." The Western Marquis is truly impressive. A young man slowly walked onto the city walls and held a loudspeaker as he shouted at the dense Southern State Army, "For this little brat, you're sending out an army. This little brat is truly fortunate. Chu Tian, you still have the guts to come out?" The Western Marquis said to Gu Qianxiu beside him, "Great scholar, Chu Tian has already appeared. What are you waiting for? Immediately send out the royal palace's knights to capture him. Central State City was still the main city of a state. This city was not that easy to break through. However, if they had the help of the Griffin Knights, the situation would be completely different. The Griffin Knights were an aerial assault unit and they had a very strong battle strength, enough to break through the gates of Central State City. "Great Scholar, what are you doing?" The Western Marquis Shangguan Hong angrily said, "The traitor is here, how can we not kill him? Does the Great Scholar want to protect the traitor?" "You bastard! Do you know what you are doing?" The veins on Gu Qianqiu's forehead popped out as he roared out, "What does a fool with a head full of mud like you know? If you don't retreat, don't blame this old man for not giving you face. Others might be afraid of the refined ruler, but this old man is not." Chapter 265. Whether it was the Central State Army or the Southern State Army, they were all stunned at this moment. In front of the Southern State Army of over 100,000 people, the Great Scholar had actually pointed at the Western Marquis' nose and scolded him. This scene was something no one expected, even Chu Tian and the others did not expect. The 8 marquises were the pillars that supported the 8 states of Southern Summer. Gu Qianqiu was the benchmark of Southern Xia scholars. The two of them had great influence in Southern Xia, so they should have avoided direct conflict. They never thought that the Great Scholar would not give them any face and would scold the Western Marquis, calling him an idiot. Southern Xia was about to be thrown into chaos. The Western Marquis was not a normal marquis, he was a noble marquis born in the Shangguan family. Gu Qianqiu was not a normal scholar. Although he did not have a title or a noble bloodline, he was the great tutor of Southern Xia, the first minister of the Dongfang family, and the #1 scholar of Southern Xia. He was a mountain of wisdom in the academic world. Even if he did not have any power, his influence made it so that no nobles dared to look down on him. He did not have a title, but he was on the same level as the 8 marquises. If Gu Qianqiu publicly praised a person, that person would immediately become famous throughout the country, becoming the guest of countless nobles and being chased after by countless scholars. If he publicly criticized a person, that person would become the target of all the scholars in the world, finally losing their reputation. This was the influence of the Great Scholar. Now he was scolding the Western Marquis in front of countless people. If this matter were to be spread, the Western Marquis would never be able to raise his head again. This intellectual leader was not someone to be trifled with. His words and writing could defeat an army of 100,000, even the 3 great clans had to give him some respect. But the 3 great clans were not easy to deal with. The Shangguan family was only inferior to the Dongfang family, so how could the refined ruler swallow this? Good. The Western Marquis Shangguan Hong had never received this kind of treatment before, so of course he was filled with rage. This marquis respected the Great Scholar in vain and gave you face. But you are using the halo of the Great Scholar and the glory of Southern Xia scholars to openly oppose the Southern Summer King, openly defy the royal decree, and openly shield the traitor. Do you really think that no one dares to touch you because you are the Great Scholar? When did this old man defy the royal decree? The king has written clearly that Chu Tian is to be escorted to Royal City, yet you are obstructing him in every possible way. Are you not going against the king's order? I stopped the war, but I never stopped Chu Tian from going to King City. Instead, it was you who cared about the king's orders. It's nothing more than making use of the king's order to kill someone. It's precisely in order to protect the king's order and to send the person safely to Royal City that this old man absolutely cannot let Chu Tian fall into your hands. You, the Western Marquis, has forcefully twisted the royal proclamation and sent troops to invade Central State, treating the lives of millions of citizens as nothing. He has tarnished the royal family, shamed the 3 great families, and made the hearts of the Southern Xia people cold. If Central State City was breached, the common people would cry out. At that time, the people would be filled with resentment and Central State would fall into chaos. Would you be able to take responsibility for the country? Not to mention holding the royal proclamation and the royal token, even if I had to face the Southern Summer King, this old man would fight to the end. This marquis is only capturing the traitors. How is this causing chaos in the country? The grand scholar is just trying to scare us. One traitor after another. Chu Tian has committed treason. Do you have any proof? Looking down on the royal family and heavily injuring the special envoy, do you still need proof? Without any proof, you've sent an army to attack the city for a personal grudge. Gu Qianqiu blew his beard as he angrily roared out, "The blood of the southern summer soldiers can only be shed on the battlefield, and the lives of the southern summer soldiers can only be sacrificed against foreign enemies. This is not the war-hound plains, this is not the southern border, this is not a battlefield, this is Central State. This is the prosperous Central State, this is the Central State with countless citizens, and this is the Central State where the Southern Xia army is stationed. When did the Southern Xia army start killing each other? Do you not feel any shame for starting this kind of war? You are a marquis of a region." These words were filled with vigor. Chu Tian was very satisfied watching this from the city walls. The Western marquis and the great scholar arguing, this kind of scene was rarely seen. Meng Qingwu was very shocked in her heart. She did not know why the famous great scholar would actually help Chu Tian like this. Meng Yingying said with a smile, "This old grandpa's quarrel is very good. Gu Qianqiu is the most famous scholar in southern Xia." Yun Tianhe stroked his beard and said with a laugh, "This kind of arguing skill is the basic skill of a scholar, not to mention someone like him who spends most of his time outside." The great scholar's accusations were like a bucket of shit being slapped on the Western marquis face. The Western marquis was about to go crazy from anger. How preposterous! Chu Tian is the one who is causing chaos in the country. I only know that after Central State had Chu Tian, the poor could make a living, the merchants could make a profit, and the citizens could live in peace, becoming richer and more prosperous than before. Once the Western marquis came to Central State, there was chaos and there was no peace, even endless bloodshed. The great scholar did not even think before speaking, his mouth was as sharp as a knife. "Tell me, who is the one causing chaos in the country?" The Western marquis had already lost his patience. He knew that he could not beat a scholar with words, so he asked one last time, "For a single Chu Tian, does the great scholar really want to become enemies with the Shangguan family? A single strand of hair from Chu Tian is worth 10,000 times more than a mere marquis like you." Gu Qianqiu's attitude was very firm. He did not leave any room for negotiation. This was all done for Chu Tian to see. Gu Qianqiu was fully aware of Miracle Commerce's strength. This was a company that could change the fate of the kingdom and even affect the entire continent. Just based on this point, Miracle Commerce could not be destroyed. What Gu Qianqiu did not expect was that the founder of Miracle Commerce, Chu Tian, was the genius that helped Qing State solve the beast disaster. He had also obtained news that Chu Tian had not only solved Qing State's problem, he had also solved Thunder State's problem. The value of this person could not be measured. The knowledge that this person had was enough to change the entire continent. This stupid Western marquis calling him a traitor here and there, did he know how dangerous this was? If Chu Tian was forced to rebel, what benefits would it bring to Southern Xia? Kill him? Not to mention the price they would have to pay. The world would lose a genius and Southern Xia would lose a master alchemist. Not kill him? If Chu Tian hated Southern Xia, it would have a disastrous result. From the people's support of Miracle Commerce in Central State, Chu Tian had the ability to cause Central State to rebel. Even if Central State failed and Chu Tian escaped somewhere else, in just a few years, he would be able to crush Southern Xia. In order to prevent this from happening, Gu Qianqiu did not hesitate to break off relations with the Western marquis. Gu Qianqiu was the kingdom's tutor. Although it was not a real position, he still represented Southern Xia, so he could at least ensure that he did not become enemies with Chu Tian. "This marquis does not have time to waste with you. The royal order is here." The Western marquis, Shangguan Hong, raised his command token high up. "Listen to my order. Begin the siege and kill Chu Tian's traitors. Anyone who dares to stop you will be punished as a traitor." Shangguan Hong threw caution to the wind. Wasn't it just a great scholar? Today he had insulted the Shangguan family, so he would definitely fall out with the Shangguan family. If he retreated because of the great scholar's influence, where would the Shangguan family's face go? Since things had reached this point, he could only brace himself. Attack the city! Attack the city! Shangguan Hong raised his command flag high up. The drums sounded all around them and the bugle horn sounded out, sounding like the roar of a giant beast. Southern State's heavy infantry formed a square formation, charging at Central State City with their shields raised. Gu Qianqiu jumped high up and grabbed the Griffin Knight's leg to return to Central State City. Then let's fight. Royal Knights, listen to my order. Defend the kingdom's city to the death. Li Hu's expression was a bit ugly. Captain, this? The other Royal Knights all had looks of hesitation. On one side was the Western Marquis with the refined ruler behind him, and on the other side was the Southern Summer great scholar Gu Qianqiu. They could not offend either of them. Didn't you hear the order? Qiao Bao tightly clenched his fist. Go, defend Central State City. Qiao Bao could become one of the Royal Knight captains because he was not a normal brute. He had lived in Imperial City for many years, so he knew the great scholar's character. There had to be a reason for the great scholar's strange reaction. Qiao Bao did not know the reason, but if the great scholar did not hesitate to fall out with the Shangguan family, what else could Qiao Bao do? First, the royal proclamation ordered the royal knights to listen to Gu Qianqiu. Second, Gu Qianqiu had the Dongfang family's background. Not only was he the Southern Summer great scholar, he was also the Dongfang family's first minister. The royal knights were loyal to the royal family and the royal family was the Dongfang family. Could Qiao Bao help the Shangguan family deal with the minister? Gu Qianqiu had a high status in the Dongfang family and if he left in a fit of anger, the Dongfang family would suffer the greatest loss. The three great families had a competitive relationship, so the Shangguan family and the Nangong family were happy to see this happen. If they lost Gu Qianqiu, how could the Southern Summer King forgive them? Since they would offend someone, they would choose to offend the Western Marquis. Countless heavy armored soldiers were moving forward with heavy steps as they charged at the Central State City gates. This was an army recruited by the barbarian tribes and they were all barbarian warriors. Their battle strength was not something normal soldiers could compare to, so the city gates could not stop them for long. 100 Griffin Knights flew into the air and let out a clear cry that shook the world. Royal Knights! The Western Marquis forcefully waved his flag. Divine Arrow Camp, shoot! The sound of bowstrings being released came from the Southern State Army. With an ear-piercing whistle, a large wave of arrows covered in spirit energy flew into the air. It was like a swarm of locusts. It was like a rising black cloud. This scene was very spectacular. Quickly, send the order. Chu Tian's expression slightly changed. Have the citizens return to their homes and hide in their basements. They can't come out until the battle is over. This battle was unavoidable. The Southern State Army was too strong. Although they had the Royal Knights led by the great scholar, they could not avoid a bloody battle. Charge! Protect Central State City. Qiao Bao descended on the Griffin, and the rest of the Royal Knights followed closely behind him. They ignored the dense rain of arrows and charged straight ahead. The Griffin gave a long cry. His wings stirred up a gust of wind, instantly forming a protective barrier that bounced off a large number of arrows that got close to him. This group of royal knights passed through the rain of arrows without a single casualty, charging at the first wave of heavy armored soldiers. I want to see how many waves you can block. The Western Marquis gave a cold snort. Continue shooting. The 2nd and 3rd battalions moved to the left and right flank and protect the attacking troops. The war drums sounded even louder. This time the Southern State Army's main force was coming out in full force. This was an elite army of over 100,000 people. There was no danger on all sides of Central State and there were not many soldiers stationed there. The Southern State Army's attack on Central State City was very sudden, so Central State City did not have time to send reinforcements. This was not going to be an easy battle. Chapter 266. Since they wanted to fight, then they would fight. The current Central State City would not hand over Chu Tian. From the large nobles to the common people, their interests were all tied to Chu Tian. Once miracle commerce fell, it would be an incomparably heavy blow to Central State. Central State had finally regained its order. How could the people just watch this happen? Archer camp, listen to my order. Our target is the rear army. Xiong Wuji stood on the city walls and loudly shouted, "Fire!" Central Continent City also let out a wave of sharp whistling sounds. Countless arrows soared into the sky like dark clouds and then scattered outside the city walls, mainly landing in the middle and rear of the Southern Continent Army. Attack with all your might. Kill those who delay retreating. The Southern State Army was very fierce. They used their weapons to block the arrows while firing back. Casualties began to appear on both sides. This battle had already begun. The barbarian heavy-armored vanguard arrived in front of the city gates. Several hundred barbarian heavy-armored soldiers pushed an incomparably large battering ram, slamming into the Central State city gates with an unstoppable momentum. Hong-dong! A heaven-shaking muffled sound rang out, simply deafening. A terrifying shockwave erupted, sending the Central State soldiers behind the city gates flying. They all spat out blood as they fell to the ground with heavy injuries. That heavy and thick city gates instantly caved in from the impact. "Keep smashing!" The Southern State Vanguard commander loudly shouted, "Blast open the city gates!" The Central State Army blocked their way. After a group of people were sent flying, another group of people came forward. The consequences of the Southern State Army attacking Central State City could not be imagined. The bustling Central State City would be plundered by the flames of war and would change beyond recognition. Perhaps even the Southern Summer King would not have thought that Central State City would not hesitate to start a war to protect Chu Tian. At this moment, the Griffin Knights charged forward with Cao Bao leading the charge. The Griffin's incomparably large claws grabbed the Southern State Vanguard commander. This Southern State Vanguard commander was not a normal person. When he was grabbed by the Griffin, he immediately stabbed his sword at the Griffin. But Cao Bao was a step faster. The moment the Griffin grabbed the commander, a 3-meter-long silver lance pierced through the commander's skull and killed him instantly. The other Griffin riders fell down like battle hammers. The heavily armored soldiers were violently smashed by the Griffins and immediately fell into chaos. One by one, they were sent flying or stabbed to death by the lances of the paladins. "Damn Royal Knights!" The Western Marquis angrily roared, "Fill them up! Whoever can open the city gates will be rewarded with 1,000,000 gold." Row after row of heavy armored soldiers surged forward like a tidal wave. The Griffins flapped their wings and shot out wind blades. Cao Bao was also constantly brandishing his lance. He was already covered in blood from the battle. There were too many Southern State soldiers and they couldn't kill them all. Even a true soul expert would run out of spirit energy inside the Griffin. Even the Griffin Knights would not be able to hold out for too long. Li Hu shouted, "Captain, we can't do it anymore." "Damn, has the Western Marquis gone crazy?" Cao Bao angrily roared, "Does he really want to destroy Central State City?" The Meng Qingwu sisters were stunned. They had never seen this kind of terrifying battle before. The Southern State Army's battle strength is too strong. Yun Tianhe's face was filled with worry. "I'm afraid we won't be able to hold them back. Once the city walls are broken, the Central State Army will not be able to stop the Southern State Army. Then we'll defend the city walls." Chu Tian gave a cold snort. "Little fox, give them a taste of your strength." The little fox took out a puppet and blew on it. The puppet turned into a miniature hellfire demon that was covered in flames. The little fox forcefully threw it out and the puppet turned into a green light that charged into the sky. It turned into an incomparably large demon stone that fell down at the city gates. The terrifying strength instantly shattered the battering ram, and several dozen Southern State heavy armored soldiers around it all died. A 6-meter-tall giant slowly stood up. Its entire body was made of rock, and it spewed out green flames. Berserk energy poured out from its body, turning into a large wave of flames that instantly knocked down a group of Southern Province soldiers and summoned a large number of little demons. This is... The Western Marquis looked over. Wasn't this the demon from Thunder State? No. That's not right. It looked much weaker, not even a tenth of the Thunder State demon strength, but it did not lose to the 8 Marquises. The Hellfire Demon was an elemental demon, so it did not have many weaknesses like normal beings. Arrows did not have any effect on it, and the Hellfire Demon could release flames all over its body, so it was very hard to attack it in close combat. The most important thing was that this monster that had never been seen before had appeared. It was a large shock to the Southern State Army, so it was a blow to their morale. After the Hellfire Demon appeared, it continued to release flames, forming a wall of flames in front of Central State City. This was the Green Abyss Flame, and the Southern State soldiers did not dare approach it. "Marquis, this monster is too strong. Our soldiers are being blocked." "Trash. You're all trash." The Western Marquis loudly roared, "Isn't it just a demon? I can't do it. It can block the Southern State Army, so destroy it for me." As soon as he said this, the Western Marquis personally jumped out, and the giant pen in his hand fell into the air. A giant seal slammed into the Hellfire Demon, and it was knocked back several steps. The flames on its body were quickly extinguished. The Southern State Army's morale was raised, and they wanted to take this chance to attack. Who would have thought that at this critical moment, there would be a cry coming from the 4 states lake? Military bugle? What is going on? In the hazy mist, a large fleet suddenly appeared, the scale of which was not inferior to the Southern State Army. Ah! Thunder State's Army. Why is the Thunder State Army heading to Central State? The 8 states of the Southern Summer Country all had their own specialties. Thunder State was a giant camp that sent large amounts of elite soldiers to the north every year, so the Thunder State Army's strength could not be underestimated. It was not inferior to the Southern State Army. Chu Tian has saved Thunder State. Now that Central State is in trouble, I, Jiang Xiong, have come to repay this debt. On the largest flagship, Jiang Xiong proudly stood there. My Thunder State has come to repay this debt. My Thunder State has come to repay this debt. The Thunder State Army's battle cries shook the sky, and their morale soared. The Thunder State Army was here to help Chu Tian? What was going on? Chu Tian was also stunned. This was truly unexpected reinforcements. The Golden Arrow Marquis had a good relationship with Shen Fengho. Could it be that Shen Fengho told the Golden Arrow Marquis before he went to Imperial City? Gu Qianqiu was also stunned. Thunder State had also sent troops to Central State. This would definitely shake the world. The Golden Arrow Marquis was still a marquis. Not following the royal order to lead troops into Central State, this was a great taboo. For a single Chu Tian, he did not hesitate to offend Imperial City. The Golden Arrow Marquis understood in his heart that Chu Tian could not fall into the hands of the Shangguan family. Not only would this make Southern Xia lose a universe master, if Chu Tian fell into the Shangguan family's control, the nobles would become even stronger. The Southern Summer 8 marquises were divided into 2 factions. One faction was made up of noble marquises like the flame-departing Marquis, the Western Marquis, and others. They were mainly from the 3 great families or the top families of Imperial City. The other faction was made up of cold race marquises like the Golden Arrow Marquis, the Greenwood Marquis, and others. Shen Fengho was from a large family, but his family had weakened, so he was considered one of the cold race marquises. The cold race had always been in conflict with the nobles. The noble marquises had a natural advantage and had the upper hand in all aspects. The cold race could only work together to stop the nobles from stealing their benefits. There was no doubt that this Chu Tian, who came from a humble background, belonged to the cold race. He would inevitably violate the interests of the nobles as he grew up, so the Golden Arrow Marquis and the other cold race representatives needed someone that could fight against the Imperial City's 3 rulers. The only one that had the ability to do this was Chu Tian. Chu Tian had survived this calamity, and with his skills and talent, it was only a matter of time before he rose up. The Western Marquis eyes turned red. "Rebel, you're all rebelling." Shangguan Hong had brought the Southern State Army here purely to deter them. He did not want to fight a large battle. He was not a fool. Why would he attack Central State City for no reason? This did not give him any benefits and would instead cause countless people to question him. He only wanted Chu Tian and Chu Tian's miracle commerce. Who would have thought that the great scholar that should have helped him would help Chu Tian instead? Shang Guanhong could only attack the city in his anger. Although attacking the city was a bad plan, Shang Guanhong had confidence in the Southern State Army. Who would have thought that Thunder State would interfere? Western Marquis, immediately surrender. The Golden Arrow Marquis loudly shouted, "Listen to the Southern State Army, you have violated the bottom line of the 8 states by attacking Central State City. If you continue to be stubborn, this Marquis can only join forces with Central State to slaughter you all. We will exterminate the Southern State Rebel Army." Gu Qianqiu seized this chance to say, "The Golden Arrow Marquis has come well. This old man will ask the king for this great merit of saving Central State." When the Golden Arrow Marquis and the Thunder State Army heard that it was the great scholar, they all activated their spirit arrays. They were most worried about the king's punishment, but they never thought that even the great scholar would stand on their side. The great scholar had a very high status in the kingdom. With him speaking out, what did they have to be afraid of? The Southern State Army looked at each other in blank dismay. This is bad. With the great scholar in front and the Golden Arrow Marquis in the back, Central State was impregnable and the city could not be broken. Wanting to take down the city today was an impossible matter. Ignore them. The Western Marquis had already lost all reason. Kill. At worst we'll fight to the death. Once we reach Imperial City, I want to see who's more reasonable. Good Western Marquis, insisting on causing internal strife. The Golden Arrow Marquis gave a cold snort. Thunder State Army, listen to my orders, follow me to the shore to quell the chaos. The Thunder State Army quickly began to disembark, pincer attacking the Southern State Army like a tide. In front of the Southern State Army was Central State City that they couldn't take down in a short amount of time, and behind them was the Thunder State Army that wasn't any weaker than the Southern State Army. Gu Qianqiu loudly shouted, "Griffin Knights, protect Central State." This powerful royal knight once again made a move. The aerial battle strength of over 100 illustrious Soul Realm Griffin Knights could not be underestimated, so it was impossible for the Southern State Army to attack the city walls. There was already no hope for Central State City. Forget it. Now that this matter had become this big, let's see how the Golden Arrow Marquis and Chu Tian get past the Southern Summer King. Pass down my order, the front army will become the back army and the back army will become the front army. Break through the siege and retreat. The Western Marquis ordered the Southern State Army to retreat. The Golden Arrow Marquis saw that the Western Marquis was planning on retreating, so he did not continue attacking. After all, the Southern State Army was the army of Southern Xia, so there was no value in sacrificing themselves in this kind of internal strife. The Southern State Army quickly boarded the ships and the Western Marquis angrily roared out, "Jiang Xiong, Chu Tian, Gu Qianqiu, I want to see how you will face the Southern Summer King's anger. We're retreating." The Southern State warships began to slowly leave. Want to leave? Is it that easy? The Southern State Fleet was less than 10 kilometers away from the Central State Port when the ships began to violently shake. "Marquis, this is bad. Something is attacking the bottom of our ships. Our ships are already leaking, what should we do?" The Southern State Army was in a panic and quite a few soldiers jumped into the water to save themselves. These soldiers were all wearing heavy armor and weapons, and adding in the fact that the Southern State soldiers did not know how to swim, they immediately fell into chaos when they fell into the water. Chu Tian ordered, "Catch them." The giant shark gang began to move. The giant nets that had already been placed in the water were pulled back and they fished up the Southern State soldiers that had fallen into the water. Chapter 267. The Southern State soldiers fell into the water like dumplings, causing the scene to fall into chaos. The giant shark gang members pulled out a giant net and caught a large group of soldiers. They fished them out like fishermen, quickly capturing a large group of them. Chu Tian pointed at the Western Marquis and said, "Capture him for me as well." Boss Yu immediately threw out his fishbone staff and a stream of water was gathered by the staff. It turned into a cage around the Western Marquis, forcefully trapping him. Shang Guanhong angrily attacked the water cage. The moment the tip of the brush touched the water prison, a thick surge of spirit energy spread out, causing the originally clear water prison to turn as black as ink. Then it shattered, turning into countless demon droplets that floated in the air, all of them shooting towards Boss Yu. The Western Marquis was in the peak 9th awakened soul layer. Boss Yu was definitely not a match for it, but fighting on the surface of the water wasn't easy. He immediately condensed a water shield, blocking the fatal demonic droplets. "Big brother, I'll help you." The giant shark gang's 5 leaders all had the same cultivation technique and had a tacit understanding with each other. If they worked together, their strength would be enough to fight against one of the Southern Summer 8 marquises. Not to mention fighting on the water, they had the geographical advantage and even had the upper hand. "This old man will help you." Gu Qianqiu's griffin descended from the sky and he released his full strength. A golden source spirit appeared behind him, which was a large golden bell. Ding! The large bell exploded with a loud sound. The others could not hear the sound of the bell, but Shangguan Hong felt his body tremble. He was caught off guard and spat out a mouthful of blood. This was because the sound coming from the golden bell was not a normal sound wave, but rather a spiritual wave. That's right, Gu Qianqiu's source spirit was actually of the spiritual attribute. This kind of source spirit was very rare, so spiritual attacks could not be defended against and it was hard to find a way to defend against it. The Western Marquis was attacked by Gu Qianqiu and his protective spirit energy collapsed. The 5 Yu brothers charged forward and captured the Western Marquis. "The Western Marquis has been captured. Why haven't you surrendered yet? We'll kill the Western Marquis." When the Southern State Army saw that the Western Marquis had been captured, their faces turned pale. They immediately gave up on resisting and surrendered. The Southern State Army's 100,000 soldiers had all become prisoners of war. This was simply sensational. Not only were the 8 provinces' armies having internal strife, the Southern Province's army was also one of the strongest in terms of combat strength. But now, 100,000 of their elite soldiers had been captured by the Middle Province. This was more than enough to bring shame to the Southern Province, to Shangguan Hong, and to the Shangguan clan. Chu Tian ordered, "Confiscate all the weapons and armors of the surrendered soldiers. Build a temporary camp for them and lock them up." When the Western Marquis was sent over tied up, he angrily roared, "Chuden, do you think you've won? You will die a horrible death for committing such a heinous crime." "Damn it." Chu Tian's temper flared up again. "Get out of the way." Boss Yu and the others immediately retreated to the side. Chu Tian rushed forward and slapped Shangguan Hong's face. But Shangguan Hong was sent flying more than 2 zhang away. "You still dare act this wild after being defeated? If I don't teach you a lesson today, I won't be surnamed Chu." While saying this, Chu Tian rushed forward to grab the Western Marquis and gave him a series of slaps. "Don't think that just because you're a Marquis of the Shangguan family, I won't even bat an eye if I want to cripple you. This madman. Perhaps he really would do something crazy." The Western Marquis felt a chill run down his spine. Gu Qianqiu quickly came over. Calm down, calm down. You finished venting, so I think you should lock him up first." Chu Tian threw the Western Marquis onto the ground and stepped on him a few times. "All right, I won't bother with you for the great scholar's sake. Lock him up and serve him well, don't let him restrain you." Everyone was stunned seeing this. Did he know who he was hitting? The Western Marquis of the 8 Southern Summer Marquises. Chu Tian had beaten the Western Marquis in front of everyone. The Golden Arrow Marquis was also shocked by Chu Tian's actions. This fellow really had a violent temper. It was no wonder he could cause such a large mess in Central State. With his fearless personality, even if he knew that the Western Marquis was backed by the refined ruler, he would not give him any face. It was not like he couldn't cripple him on the spot. Just this kind of arrogance was not something a normal person could think of. In for a penny, in for a pound. Since he had offended the Southern Summer King, offended the Shangguan family, and even offended the Nangong family, Chu Tian had nothing to fear. In the end, Central State was still Chu Tian's territory, so at least Shen Fengho would support him. The Golden Arrow Marquis and the Great Scholar were also dragged into this mess. Chu Tian already had enough chips in his hands. No matter how angry the Southern Summer King was, he could not ignore Central State. He could not dismiss Shen Fengho and the Golden Arrow Marquis, and he could not give face to the Great Scholar. "Leave for me." Boss Yu's group of 5 brought the bloody and bruised Western Marquis away. This dignified Marquis had been thrown into prison like this. You? Oh no, Mr. Chu. Gu Qianxiu, this famous great scholar of southern Xia, had a nervous expression as he walked in front of Chu Tian. I thought it would be hard to meet you in Qing State, so I missed you. I never thought that in just a few days, although there was a misunderstanding, everything can be solved. This old fellow really didn't know how to speak. It gave Father goosebumps. Chu Tian looked at him with a look of disdain. However, even in this old man's dreams, I never imagined that you were the famous Chu Tian. No wonder you were able to do so many extraordinary things. Did I teach a lesson to your students who don't know the immensity of heaven and earth? You wouldn't hold a grudge, right? No. Gu Qianxiu quickly shook his head. How could I? With your distinguished self's talent, not to mention this old man's student, even if you taught this old man a lesson, I would not say anything and would even be grateful for your guidance. The great scholar was very humble to Chu Tian. This scene was seen by the citizens and soldiers. This fellow was really the great scholar? He couldn't be an impostor, right? The Southern Summer Great Scholar was recognized as the #1 scholar, and his knowledge was even above Yun Tianhe's. He was proficient in alchemy, talisman techniques, and weapon refining, so he was a mountain in the hearts of millions of scholars in Southern Xia. He was also an authority in Southern Xia's academic world. Not only did Gu Qianxiu have excellent knowledge, he was also a peak expert. He had a cultivation in the peak 9th awakened soul layer, being on the same level as the Southern Summer 8 Marquises. It could be said that if Gu Qianxiu did not spend all his time on academics, he might have broken through to the awakened soul realm and become an existence comparable to the 3 rulers and Southern Xia. Gu Qianxiu's legendary experience was a story told by the people of Southern Xia. When he was young, he left his hometown and traveled across mountains and rivers, using 20 years to study in large countries. He brought back countless advanced knowledge for Southern Xia, laying the foundation for Southern Xia's academic development. Other than that, Gu Qianxiu had solved countless problems for Southern Xia over the past several decades. Similar to the problem in Qing State, Gu Qianxiu had personally taken action each time, finding the most ideal solution. Gu Qianxiu had contributed to Southern Xia, so it was not wrong for him to be made a marquis. Only Gu Qianxiu was a scholar in the end. He wholeheartedly studied and did not like fame, so he rejected the Southern Summer King's rewards several times. Yun Tianhe quickly spoke up for him. The great scholar is a person of noble character and unquestionable integrity. There is no need to worry about this small misunderstanding. I think that if the great scholar knew the cause and effect of this matter would not have happened. Yes. Gu Qianxiu was very grateful to Yun Tianhe for speaking up for him. It's just a misunderstanding. Chu Tian did not care about this matter. Gu Qianxiu's true identity as the great scholar was something that Chu Tian had already guessed in Central State. Chu Tian was offending more and more people, and it seemed like he couldn't stop it any longer. Whether it was to strengthen his own influence or to increase the Yun sect's research level, this person had value in recruiting him. If the calm martial ruler was not willing to protect Chu Tian, he could only work with the great scholar. I, Chu Tian, am not a person who doesn't know right from wrong. It's fine if it's just a misunderstanding. Chu Tian pretended to say, the great scholar helped me today. Chu Tian is very grateful. If the great scholar has any requests, I will do my best to satisfy them. Gu Qianxiu did not even think before saying, I want to join you and do research together. This was exactly what he wanted. Chu Tian hesitated as he rubbed his chin. I came here with the sincerity of seeking knowledge. Gu Qianxiu swore on the spot. If I have any selfish intentions, the heavens will punish me. All right. Chu Tian nodded. I believe in the great scholar's character. From today on, the great scholar will be a member of the Yun sect. Old Yun, bring the great scholar to the Yun sect's research facility. Yun Tianhe was filled with excitement. The Central State City citizens were even more excited. The great scholar was a noble person, but he had actually come to Central State to join the Yun sect and become Chu Tian's subordinate. Chu Tian obtaining the great scholar's support was more useful than any marquis's support. As long as he had the great scholar's support, Chu Tian would not be easy to topple. Great scholar, please. Please, please. Yun Tianhe brought the excited Gu Qianxiu to tour the research facility. Chu Tian walked in front of the Golden Arrow Marquis and cupped his hands. Many thanks for the Golden Arrow Marquis rescue. Chu Tian will remember this grace. Mr. is the great benefactor of Thunder State citizens, as well as this Marquis great benefactor. Now that my benefactor is in trouble, how could this Marquis just sit back and do nothing? The Golden Arrow Marquis gave a few loud laughs. Congratulations, congratulations. The great scholar is an influential person and has actually become Mr.'s subordinate. Little brat, your luck is not shallow. Hi, this is nothing. It wasn't easy for the Thunder State soldiers to come all the way here. Chu Tian said, Shen Fengho is not in Central State, so Miracle Commerce will represent Central State to properly reward everyone. Miracle Commerce's food is the best in the world. My army's soldiers are in luck. Today, Miracle Commerce's restaurant will only serve the Thunder State soldiers, so you can eat as much as you want? Good, good. The Thunder State soldiers revealed excited expressions. Miracle Commerce's canned food was already flowing into Thunder State, but it was still a very rare thing and only a few people had the chance to taste it. It was hard for them to come to Central State, so they had to eat as much as they wanted. Chapter 268. Chu Tian held a large banquet to entertain the Thunder State soldiers. Considering that Shen Fengho might not be able to convince the calm martial ruler and Chu Tian's situation was very dangerous, he could only settle for the next best thing. He chose to work with the Golden Arrow Marquis, Shen Fengho, and the Great Scholar. When Gu Qianxiu came out of the research facility, this 100-year-old man was filled with excitement like he had been injected with chicken blood. The Yunsex research facility had completely changed Gu Qianxiu's understanding, making him feel like he had wasted his 100 years of life. Now he was truly envious of Yun Tianhe. That old fellow Yun Tianhe could lead this miraculous research team, and he could only watch from the side. He had to join. He had to join. A normal researcher could not satisfy the great scholar, so Gu Qianxiu had to personally lead 1 or 2 projects. The more difficult it was, the more he liked it. For example, the Source Energy Matrix computer. Chu Tian secretly showed the Source Energy weapon to the Golden Arrow Marquis and the Great Scholar. It was needless to say that the appearance of this era-changing weapon created a large stir for the two of them. It made them believe that their decision to resist the royal decree was not wrong. Chu Tian frankly said to the two of them, this one wanted to work with the calm martial ruler to create a source energy factory, but who would have thought that the calm martial ruler would be so heartless and want to harm me? Since it's like this, it's fine if we don't work together. I will work with the two of you and Shen Fengho. What do you think? The 2 marquises. A grand tutor. Although he could not compare to the calm martial ruler, once they worked together, it was enough to protect Chu Tian. The marquises had a large amount of autonomy. As the Southern Summer Grand Tutor, Gu Qianxiu had a large amount of authority in Imperial City. This kind of alliance with the central government was enough to ensure the safety of Miracle Commerce's industry. How could the Golden Arrow Marquis and the Great Scholar reject this? This was simply a meat pie falling from the sky. Finally, the 3 of them came to an agreement. Chu Tian would provide the technology and the location to create the continent's first source energy weapon factory in Central State City. The Great Scholar, the Golden Arrow Marquis, and Shen Fengho would be in charge of supporting and escorting them. Gu Qianxiu then suggested, for safety, we can also pull the Qing State Greenwood Marquis in. Not to mention President Chu helping the Greenwood Marquis, the Greenwood Marquis will not reject this kind of good thing. Yes. The Golden Arrow Marquis agreed. Qing State, Thunder State, and Central State, with the 3 states working together and with the Great Scholar's protection, this factory will be impregnable. Even if the 3 great clans want to interfere, they won't be able to touch it. Chu Tian agreed. Although he didn't know much about the Greenwood Marquis, Qing State was a very important place. It was the center of the country's resources, and once the alliance was formed, It would bring many benefits to Miracle Commerce. The few of them reached an agreement. Miracle Commerce held 50% of the shares of the Central State Munitions Factory. The other 50% would be distributed to the partners, including the 3 marquises and the Great Scholar. The happiest ones right now were the Golden Arrow Marquis and the Great Scholar. The Golden Arrow Marquis had come to save Central State and picked up a large bargain. How could he not be happy? There was no need to mention Gu Qianqiu. He never thought that Mr. Yu would be Chu Tian. This person was truly a rare talent that only appeared once every 10,000 years. Although there was a misunderstanding at first, it was a good thing it was solved later, and he was fortunate enough to become a member of the Yun sect. Since we've come to an agreement, I'll take my leave first. I'll wait for good news from the factory in Thunder State. As long as I can help you in the future, just give me an order. The Golden Arrow Marquis had entered Central State illegally, so he did not dare stay in Central State for too long. So, he withdrew his army the next day. Chu Tian had reached an agreement with several powers, so he did not wait for Shen Fengho to return from Imperial City. He began to prepare the factory and improve the weapons. The Western Marquis had surrounded the city this time, which made Chu Tian feel an even more serious sense of danger. If Thunder State had not sent reinforcements, even if Central State City could hold on, they would have suffered heavy casualties. Chu Tian had to quickly build up his army. Only his own strength was the most reliable. After several days, a group of blood eagles crossed the mountains and arrived in Central State. This group was made up of people wearing blood-red armor, with each one releasing a suffocating aura. These were the Dongfang family's blood-clothed generals. They were all experienced on the battlefield and were all senior elders of the Dongfang family. Each one of them had the strength of a true Soul Realm expert. The entire group was made up of true Soul Realm experts. This kind of lineup could only be seen in the kingdom's 3 great families. On the back of a large griffin, there were 2 men standing. One of them was a middle-aged man in a blue robe and the other was covered in a cloak, giving off a mysterious and powerful aura. The calm martial ruler, Dongfang Gan. One of the 3 rulers, the calm martial ruler, had personally come to Central State. If this was spread out, it would cause a stir in southern Xia. If the spirit beasts knew that the calm martial ruler was not in Imperial City, they would immediately attack the city. The calm martial ruler was not only one of the strongest experts in southern Xia, he was also the publicly acknowledged military god of southern Xia. The people of southern Xia believed that as long as the calm martial ruler was here, Imperial City would never fall. This kind of important person did not even personally come to Thunder State's natural disaster, but instead came to Central State City for a single Chu Tian. What is going on here? Shen Fengho found traces of a battle in Central State City. Could it be that the Western Marquis has already attacked? Shen Fengho tightly knit his brows. The calm martial ruler's eyes flashed a few times. It seems like the Western Marquis has failed. Let's go down. When the calm martial ruler's blood-clothed generals rode their griffins and blood eagles into Central State City, it immediately attracted the attention of the Central State citizens. Anyone riding a griffin was undoubtedly from Imperial City. The people of Central State did not have any good impressions of Imperial City. Chu Tian was not rewarded for his merits in Thunder State. Chu Tian was heavily punished for the chaos in Central State, and he even tried to swallow up Miracle Commerce. The Western Marquis, Shangguan Hong, had sent an army to attack, almost wanting to turn Central State into a land of chaos. The Southern Summer King being this muddle-headed made the people very dissatisfied. Central State City had already formed a unified system of benefits. Whether it was a large or small family, they all followed Chu Tian's lead. They would suffer together, they would prosper together. The citizens also benefited from Miracle Commerce, so Central State supported Miracle Commerce. They would not allow the kingdom to split Miracle Commerce and create another 4 great families. Shen Fengho? So it's Shen Fengho? When the citizens saw Shen Fengho come down from the griffin, their worries immediately turned to joy. Shen Fengho was Chu Tian's supporter. With Shen Fengho in Central State City, a fellow like the Western Marquis would not dare be this arrogant. Shen Fengho quickly asked, What happened in Central State in the past 2 days? The Western Marquis brought the Southern State Army to attack Central State, but they were defeated and captured by Chu Tian. What? Shen Fengho and the calm martial ruler's expressions fell. Although they had guessed that something would happen in Central State, they never thought it would be this serious. He had the Western Marquis capture Chu Tian and he had led his army to attack the city. Was this fellow's brain filled with shit? It was fine if the Western Marquis led his army to attack the city. The Southern State Army was a famous army in southern Xia. The Western Marquis had personally led the Southern State Army to attack Central State City, but not only did they not manage to do anything to Central State City, the entire army had been captured and he, a respected Marquis, had been captured. This was truly a first in the southern summer country. Shen Fengho became very embarrassed. He never thought that this matter would become even bigger. Interesting. The calm martial ruler was not angry at all. Chu Tian had already caused enough trouble. Bring me to see him. The calm martial ruler followed Shen Fengho through the streets of Central State City. Just like when the great scholar Gu Qianqiu first entered Central State City, the calm martial ruler was attracted by the strange inventions in the city. When he learned of the uses of these things and that they were all made by Chu Tian, the calm martial ruler's evaluation of Chu Tian couldn't help going up a level. Chu Tian being able to develop source energy weapons was not a coincidence. This person could truly be called a master of the universe. If he had enough support and protection, he would be able to cause a large change in southern Xia in the future. Thinking of this, the calm martial ruler's calm heart couldn't help becoming excited. This is Miracle Commerce's headquarters. Shen Fengho led the calm martial ruler to the Miracle Commerce headquarters and then directly entered Miracle Commerce. The Miracle Commerce people were all Shen Fengho, so they immediately let him in. Where is Chu Tian? Reporting to the Marquis, the chairman is testing the new weapon in the laboratory. The calm martial ruler and Shen Fengho's eyes lit up. Shen Fengho quickly asked, "Can we go in?" This? The Miracle Commerce people looked at the calm martial ruler beside Shen Fengho. Since it's Shen Fengho, it shouldn't be a problem, but we have to report it first. Please wait a bit. The Miracle Commerce staff quickly came back. We asked the Marquis to go in. The Miracle Commerce staff respectfully said, "The chairman is in the shooting range, the third room on the second floor." The calm martial ruler looked at Shen Fengho. "You are the Central State County's Marquis, but you actually need to report to a company leader in advance." "That depends on who it is." Shen Fengho gave a bitter laugh. "Please?" The two of them walked into the laboratory. Before they reached the shooting range, they already heard a series of sounds. Sharp whistling sounds came one after another. The sound of iron rakes being smashed continued as metal targets were shattered by energy bullets. Chu Tian, Yun Tianhe, Gu Qianqiu, Meng Qingwu, and Meng Yingying were inside. Meng Yingying was in charge of shooting while the others were observing. After the gun's heat resistance has been improved, it can now withstand 10 shots without melting. The best range is within 200 meters. If it goes beyond 200 meters, the energy bullet will quickly dissipate. If it hits a target 400 meters away, its strength will decrease by 50%. The Source Energy magazine's battery has been optimized several times. Because the crystal oil refining technology is not high enough and the quality of the crystal oil used is not high enough, it is still unable to provide enough energy support. A normal 100 milliliter magazine can complete 8 shots. Meng Qingwu recorded the data one by one. You're tuning into the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.